And we are live, everyone. I want to thank everyone who is tuning in today to season 2, episode 1 of Live Discussions with Diamond. I am your host, Diamond Rivera. And before we get started, this interview is sponsored by Sigue Eso Fest, brought to you by Edwin Rivera. It's the world's first live stream Latin and music festival this Saturday, August 8th, 12 p.m. Eastern. Eddie Torres, Karin and Raphael, and so much more. And this is just the beginning, and I'm very, very happy to announce that we have to my right, we have the one and only Rubia Garcia.
Hey, love, how are you? It's good to be
Oh,
here.
I'm doing amazing, and come to have our season 2 now, episode 1, and to have you as our first guest. It truly is amazing, but a lot of people do not know that me and you really do go way back. I mean, we go way back. I mean, before
Yo.
Rubia was Rubia.
Well, I'd say the Troy and David took a great deal in giving me the name Rubia because I guess like Lindsay Ann was just a little bit too country, even coming from New Orleans, it was just a little bit too country. So Rubia was just easier than like who's that girl Lindsay Ann? They're like, no, like Rubia, man, like with the tattoos on the back.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, but that's a long time ago, like 2000. God, I started dancing 2002 or three, and then by '04, '05, it's Ruby on the set.
Oh yes, I mean yeah, we go way back to Texas Salsa
Yeah,
Congress. I
you're
think
right.
you said you were young in the scene, and I was young myself, a lot younger, and looking up to the people. I mean, I was meeting people from New Orleans like yourself when I was younger. To see now, fast forward to 2020, and still keeping those relationships with people that I've met is very special. And a lot of people do know you as, I would say, a social media influencer, an educator, a social activist, uh, and so much more. Honestly, I mean, I can go on and on, but for me, I think it's very, very important for people to understand where Rubia started, from where the roots kind of came in. And for me, I can give this whole story, but it wouldn't do it any justice. And like I tell all my guests, the floor is yours.
Oh Lord. Well, I started like who Lindsay is. I'm the baby of 10 kids, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I have 8 older brothers, an older sister, another older sister that I never met. I was never really the most attractive girl growing up. Honestly, my sister was the one that was athletic and all that. I was the kind of geeky one that was the Disney princess and loved the movies and fairy tales and dancing and all that. But I was fat and just like a little roly poly. And I just knew that I was never going to be a dancer ever growing up because I just, it wasn't like my dad and it wicked senses of humor, but I was a very thick child growing up, so
Hmm.
I loved dancing. I loved dirty dancing and lambada. Tell my age, Lord have mercy. But I loved dancing always as a child, and then it just didn't happen until high school. And high school, my family was extremely dysfunctional. Like I said, I'm a baby of 10, and we were all raised together.
Hmm.
So dancing, I actually started dancing in high school. So a girl by the name of Susan Mendez was dating one of my brothers, and
Hmm.
she would introduce me to dance lessons at Copacabana with Eddie and Aurelio Gonzalez, who was from Cuba. So my first dancing lessons ever for years, like the first year and a half, 2 years before I ever even met Troy or anybody else like that, went to a Congress or even knew that a Congress existed. Because prior to this, my experience with Latin music, honest to God, it consisted of a summer in Orlando where I went to a Latin club and they played like reggaeton, and then that was it. Like prior to that,
Hmm.
I knew nothing of salsa, bachata, merengue, none of that.
Yeah.
And then I started going to these lessons with Aurelio, and I started learning Cuban style, Rueda. But when it happened in the sense of I always wanted to dance, but at the time in my life, I was going through different things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So at the time in high school, I was living on my own. I was sleeping in my car in a church parking lot around the corner from my high school. It was safer for me to be in my car than it was to be in my household because of things that were going on. And then I ultimately kind of looked at the dance lessons as a way to escape and to have an excuse to go crash on my girl because the lessons run late, and it turned out that I really loved it. Like I fell in
Yeah.
love with dancing. More importantly, I fell in love with the familial component. I love the fact that they, from the very beginning, who my name was, it didn't matter because they were going to make one up for me. It didn't matter from the jump. I was open and I was welcome. And anybody that really comes into the scene, anybody who's been around, and everybody kind of understands and kind of sees that, like that beginning part when you're kind of romanticized by the entire experience of learning how to dance and coming into it, and it's almost like this its own little thing that you have. And I love the dancing and coming into dancing, and you know, having that family component. Like I told you the other day,
Hmm.
like you go to a congress and you haven't seen these people since last year or since 5 years ago, and it's like
Yeah.
y'all sit in the hotel room, you grab a drink, you pick up where you left off, and keep it moving. You know what I mean? Like that's
Absolutely.
like no time ever dropped off. And I love those things, and that, and I fell in love with that from the very beginning, from like my first congress. But then, by that point, Katrina had happened here in New Orleans.
Hmm.
So a lot of the dancers had moved on and gone other places and things like that. So I just remained here in the city, and then eventually started teaching, and then started teaching in schools, and then started teaching, and then getting married and all these kinds of things. But that's my background, buddy. Like that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and
That's
for
the skin.
me to see, like you were saying, like from your first going to congresses in like '05, you're meeting David Melendez, a guy who's been very influential in our dance scene. But
Hmm.
then also, like you said, you kind of getting into the dances in New Orleans with like Casino. You have your experience, and I think it's very important that people should know that in New Orleans, dance is in general the culture of dance is endless. I mean, from your bounce, from your zydeco, from just all styles of dance I've been witness to. But one specific style was Casino. And I
Hmm.
mean that because my experience of going to New Orleans, like salsa was pretty good, pretty big, but Casino was something that pushed. And a name to me that resounds in New Orleans specifically is a gentleman by the name of Aurelio.
That's Aurelia. Yeah.
Yes. And I guess for him, for me, I guess I'm seeing is that this gentleman really is like a figure, like a mentor to many of the dancers that have kind of that started.
I'm gonna put it to you like this, and this is a bold statement, but I myself and now Dejan are one of the very few people from New Orleans that really didn't learn from Troy and Georgette, or learn from somebody who learned from Troy and Georgette.
Yes.
That's why it's the Aurelio. Um, that's who I started with, and I danced casino dance rueda for years, before
Mm.
I even knew, because I was 16, 17 years old at the time. And then the next thing you know, when I get to like 17, I get a fake ID and I'm sneaking into Twiropa right around the time. I'm still around the time that they're having like Mardi Gras Mambo, and
Yeah.
I'm meeting Lee Rios from San
Okay.
Antonio, and I see Mario B and a bunch of other people because Troy and Georgette are bringing them in, and I'm a kid, you know what I mean? I'm just now getting into the scene. This is pre Katrina,
Yeah.
so I'm seeing Ismail and all these people, you know what I mean? But I don't make a connection until years later, because all of that sparks up, and this is 2004. I'm graduating from high school, and that summer. But then the next year, Katrina hits, and that's it.
Yeah, no, no, because I remember vividly, and I have friends from New Orleans that, New Orleans pre Katrina had a really like a very vivacious, a blossoming scene that was growing. And I noticed that when Katrina hit, what happened was you had the people that stood, but then you had a lot of those that left, that specifically went to places like Texas, maybe New York, and other places. And I think that for me, I noticed was the shift. There was kind of a different scene because people were kind of rebuilding, but a lot of those people like Troy Anthony, Georgette, and others, who had left, they kind of put a dent, and it kind of had to make people build that scene up again. I mean, am I correct?
Well, I'll say that post Katrina, this is just from my recollection, right?
Yes.
So Katrina happens. I come back. I start working in disaster recovery. This is August 2005. I work and I do that for like a couple of months, but everything's closed, right? So there is nowhere to go. There's like Bourbon Street is no.
Yeah.
Every imagine what the New Orleans was like post Katrina, even for months, like months and months. I was living off MREs for months. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So like the dancing scene, I don't know, I want to say maybe within the year, Ampersand's open, and that's when I started teaching with Chino, who's now in Houston. You
Yes,
know,
Chino. Yeah, Chino.
I was
Yes.
about to say Chino. So Chino, me and Chino started teaching there, and I think Chino was maybe teaching with Bianca San Martin, and
Yeah.
I think that Mary Angel and Derek. I think Mary was. I'm not 100% sure, but I think she was pregnant or had just had one of their babies. And it
Hmm.
was dangerous for them to be here because there wasn't anything in New Orleans. So they left, and then Laz, and then Hershey, and then who you said earlier. Was it not Raymond? But a lot of people.
Sydney.
Sydney,
Yeah,
yeah,
Sydney.
like Chino. Well, Chino stuck around because Chino was going to Baton Rouge. He was
Hmm.
at LSU trying to finish his degree. So there was Aurelio wasn't teaching. So within like an 80-mile radius, I don't. I think Sambusi even left. Like Troy and Georgette were gone.
Yeah.
That was out. Houston like embraced them and swallowed them whole, including David Melendez. You know what I mean? So Houston and Texas fully embraced Troy and Georgette after post Katrina, but in
Hmm.
the city of New Orleans, it was pre post Katrina. Man, it was bad. Like it was not. There wasn't like besides the ones that I mentioned before, dude. There really wasn't any place to go within. And if it wasn't popping in New Orleans, it's just now within a few short years that New Orleans growing, and then Baton Rouge growing, and even Lafayette has a scene growing, and then people going over like right there in Picayune or Jackson, Mississippi, or Mobile or
Yeah.
Pensacola or Destin. Like it's the whole gunk. It wasn't just New Orleans that got hit with Katrina. You know what I mean? The
Hmm.
bigger point is, and not just that, but other cities and like Houston with the floods a couple of years back, and there's a
Yeah.
collective sadness that hits a lot of these different cities and these different communities. With Katrina, I could just speak from that experience because
Hmm.
it was gone, and I only know that because I was somebody who was so hungry at that time. Like I was in the peak. Like I was down
Yeah.
for it. I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a championship. I'm 18, 19 years old, ready to go hard in the paint, and then overnight everybody's gone.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely remember people telling me like just they kind of had to pick up where they left off, and like you said, there were places like Ampersand that came about. So you kind of slowly things were kind of picking up. But what I realized that you had those people in New Orleans, like yourself, like Chino, like Mary Angel and Derek, and a few others.
They came back and they started teaching again, and they've been teaching really. I want to say maybe they left again and came. I'm not 100% sure, but they've been consistently teaching forever, like well over a decade, dude. Like they've well established themselves into the community here. Even though Troy has not been in New Orleans ever since Katrina, but I believe now recently, within the last couple of years, he's taken up permanent residence, but not really. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's necessarily teaching like that, but I know that he's back in New Orleans um, to a certain degree. But Beyond that, Dejan has his teaching. I was teaching up until right before COVID.
Mhm.
I have been teaching at dance quarter for 5 years. I want to say since like 2015, yeah, 15. I have been teaching
Yeah.
lessons at dance quarter.
And then question is, so when did and I also remember is that there was an event that happened maybe in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, that I think Mario B was there, Dave Melendez was there. They had like a dance event. It was maybe a small event that it had a few just different instructors from New Orleans.
I want to say that might have been maybe Mary Angel and Derek threw one. I'm pretty sure that I know for a fact that Troy that's the one that I mentioned earlier at Twiropa.
Yeah.
I want to say that it was Mardi Gras Mambo, I think it was called.
Yes, Mardi Gras Mambo.
Yeah, and he brought that was the one that I think I snuck in, and I saw Mario be like, I didn't talk to anybody because first of all I wasn't even legal to even be in there, so I wasn't about to talk to nobody. And I can't dance like y'all dancing, so I'm brand new to this. I'm just excited to be here, like
I don't blame you. I don't blame you
it
because I
cracked
mean,
my world all the way open. This little white girl never knew nothing about nothing, and then I thought I knew a little bit of something because of my Cuban lessons, and it was totally unqualified. But it was
um,
great to be here.
so with your Cuban kind of experience, the Rueda experience, do you feel like the transition into like what they call New York salsa, or 2 on 1, did it kind of help the transition, or was it kind of a learning curve?
I mean, I'll tell you, and I told you this story, but my first time that I've ever danced on tube was with Uriel. Like it was,
Yes.
and this was before Uriel was like
And we talking about Yuri. We're talking about Darling Garcia
Uriel
and
and
Yuri
Darlin
Garcia.
and Uriel, right? Like it was Darlin and Uriel, and it was long before like Uriel is like championship, like throwing Vera everywhere. Like
Abs-
I'm watching them and UMDA and Ismael and Mario B and the Mambo Twins and Edwin Rivera, like, and all of this is happening at TSC. You know what I mean? And that's I fell in love with all of the. It was just talent and classic. It was in my that's it's a classic era.
no,
That's
yeah, no, I agree. And for me, a question I do have: when was it, or what period in your life did you say, "Hey, I'm loving what I'm doing, but I want to now kind of take it serious and maybe start teaching"?
well. Oh man. So right about 2008, I am in college. I'll back up. So 2005, Katrina happens. I do the disaster recovery. I moved to DR for a little while. I wanted to learn how to dance and try to work up on Spanish. Nobody decided to let me know that Dominicans were some of the hardest to learn Spanish from with the como tu estás. I'm like, that's not in my dictionary. But anyway, nobody decided to give me the heads up on that, but I did learn some bachata. So I came back and then I started teaching and things like that. And then I decided to enroll back in school because I had left post Katrina and I had moved back to New Orleans.
Hmm.
Um, and I, I was going to law school and I always knew I wanted to look. I just saw a comment. I'm so excited for the first time.
Yes.
Watson, hey Watson, Rubia, you're hilarious. Don't play with me. And you know he look, I'm drinking too, so you know by the end of this is gonna get good.
Oh yeah.
Everybody too, hey.
Yes. Now we're gonna
Anyway,
be throughout the interview. I'm gonna be just posting these comments so you can see them.
that's
So
dope. Oh, I get it. I'm so excited. That's like, hey, that's so dope. But no, like I moved to DR and then I come back and then I get into school and I'm dead set on going to law school. I'm gonna go to Notre Dame. And I'm gonna go to South Bend, Indiana, and brave the cold and Rudy it up, and then I'm gonna come out and be a civil rights activist. You know, I'm a civil rights attorney, and I'm just gonna create hell. And then I met my ex-husband, well, would be future ex-husband at that point. I do not go to law school. I stay back in New Orleans. He's in the Navy. I want to get married. I want to have a family, and I want to have kids. And
Yeah.
I love New Orleans, and I can do law school from here, but he has his thing. So I'm like, you know what? I want this more than that. So I wanted marriage and the kids and the family life. I
Hmm.
wanted that more than anything in the world. So I did, and I didn't go to law school, and I wanted to teach, and I got into school, and I fell in love with my kids.
Yeah.
So much, I think that in a great degree, it caused a strain on our marriage. You know, to be completely transparent, because it, teaching, if you really do it right, it weighs on you because you
Yeah.
understand the burden that comes along with the responsibility of what it is that you're doing. And it was very difficult within my first few years of teaching in order to try to balance that. But by 2014, he was gone.
Yeah.
So that
No, but so
I could
and
move
to
on.
bring yeah, no, to bring it back to you actually becoming a teacher, because I
Mhm.
mean, with most people understand. Like for me, living in New York City, I know a lot of kids my age or when I was in school, we put our teachers through hell, and I definitely give it up to them. And also, too, what happens in the world is sometimes we get preconceived notions on what other cities are like. So, especially me growing up, the information or the stuff I was told about New Orleans wasn't very pretty. But it wasn't until I got there that I saw a beautiful human side to it. But for me, I really want to know, as a person teaching in the inner city schools, what was that experience like?
Well, I'm a product of New Orleans inner
Hmm.
city schools. I went to Alice Hardin. I graduated from Edna Clark, 2004. And so I already knew what time of day it was. This is my city. This is my community. These are my people. Like I, when it came down to me having a family and him having his dreams, it was about us kind of compromising to get where we both wanted to go, which was what marriage and like all of those things is what I believe that those things were about. So when it came down to teaching, I knew that it was going to be difficult, but I also had a different view of what teaching was going to be like. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I thought that people took history and civics and geography. I thought that people too took these things seriously, like in education. And
Yeah,
when I got into education and I saw that it wasn't, that's like,
I think we can't hear you.
am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Somebody called me, so there's that.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry, but
But
what were you
no,
saying? Yeah,
where was I?
about
I
the
got
geography.
into, yeah, I thought that these things, when you're talking about America being a constitutional republic, and more importantly, you require people who want to go through the naturalization process to go through a series and answer a citizenship test on basic U.S. history and civics and
Hmm.
government. But you don't even mandate that of the kids that I'm teaching in my classroom because they don't have to pass my test if they have a test at
Oh,
all. So in schools, you take a civics class in high school, right? Everybody remembers
yeah,
that, a government class. But there
absolutely.
is no state standardized test to mandate that. There's no money that's tied to it. It's only to ELA and math. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why wouldn't you want that type of data to know? But when you're sitting
Hmm.
here walking around, you got 27% of the population that can only name one branch of government
Yeah.
correctly. I mean, but you wonder how Donald Trump gets elected president. Come on, it's
Eh,
a man. Listen,
if you don't know, you don't grow. And I've realized that myself as being a student in school was, they were so fixated on math, on ELA, and so many other subjects, even science. When it came down to the government or just social studies, these are such important topics that we really needed to know. We needed to know about the three different branches of government. We should know about what a Democratic, uh, what a Republican, what a Libertarian does, or what their beliefs are. We should also, I think, a big thing too, what was lacking in our school system was the topic of finances, because a lot of these kids that come out
oh,
of a lot of the kids that come out of these schools, they don't even know how to save their own money. They don't even know how to invest. They don't understand that.
they that's all of those subjects have been lumped into like it's honest to God what kills me. It's why I'm leaving education, or why people see me screaming, hooping, and hollering in my car. Because at the end of the day, like I said, you're setting these kids up for failure. You're leading them into like cattle for slaughter, because you're not giving them the necessary tools needed in order to be a fully functional and successful individual within society. You're teaching them the Pythagorean theorem, but you're not telling them the difference between a debit and a credit. You're not
Yeah.
telling them what an interest rate is. You're telling them they need to go to college, but you ain't worried about the way that they're going to pay for it, or the fact that they're going to lump up, 6-figure student loan debt and be able to not be able to go into a workforce and actually acquire a job in order to repay those loans. You're not teaching those things. So as an educator, I only have a couple of options, because at the end of the day, here's the kicker. They might even, for instance, and this is a true fact, they don't have they have to take a history test in fourth grade, in eighth grade, and in 11th grade. The history
Mhm.
test. Now they have to take it, but they don't have to pass it, and it's just U.S. history, right? So there isn't one on civics and government or what have you. But I have to submit plans every single year and say how many students I'm going to get at basic or above, and things like that. But even in education, because money's not tied to it in certain schools, because money's not tied to social studies, they'll have you still teaching ELA or math as remediation courses instead of being able to teach your subject. So at the end of the day, my reputation, my evaluation, my career is tied to this data, because they're going to take a test, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't been teaching them because you've been forcing me to teach another subject. And
Yeah.
besides my reputation being damaged, you now have an entire population of children who are being moved up to the next level civically illiterate. They don't know about government. They don't know about their rights. They don't know what the Bill of Rights is. They don't know about the Constitution. But these are the things that are inside of American politics that you're seeing right now. And there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing truly, I believe, profound about I'm just, I'm a geek. I'm a dork. I'm crazy. But more importantly, I always saw a very long time ago, I don't like when people play with me. Like, if
Gotcha.
we're going to establish rules,
Like in school,
cool.
because these kids
Let's
can be
play this.
bad.
I want. Yeah, if we gonna lay out the ground rules, then let's lay them out, and we're gonna be fair. You understand? Like, it's gonna be equitable across the board. So, I don't know. I can already tell this is gonna be an interesting conversation. Oh, sweet Jesus.
No, absolutely. I mean, absolutely, because like as you've seen in the comments here, I had put it earlier. What God says, the entire school system needs a complete remodel with qualified educators. I believe that's
So, Guy, first of all, I love Guy. I love that. The Guy, that's my baby. That's my boo. Tell wifey and the family I said hello. So, in regards to that, here's the put the comment up again.
absolutely.
Remodel with qualified teachers. Here's the thing. In a charter school, so there's a difference between charter schools and traditional public schools. So give you an example. So
Mhm.
a traditional public school is usually run by the elected board. So in New Orleans, we have parishes. We don't have counties
Yeah.
like everybody else does, but we have an Orleans Parish School Board, right?
Mhm.
Those are our elected officials per district that represent and take care of the school. A charter school is a tax funded, publicly funded, but privately run business run by a board that they collectively get together. So me, you, Guy can get together, draft up a charter, and then we sit there and we apply to New Orleans Parish School Boards to rent out a building, and we put our school there. And our board basically runs that school, right? So it's like a Walmart board running
Yeah.
over your school. But charter schools don't have to follow the same laws that public schools do. So
Gotcha.
charter schools, for instance, they don't have to hire qualified teachers. That goes down. That's why I'm going back. They don't have to hire qualified teachers, because the whole point of a charter school is to get out of the legislative stronghold. No, it's a loophole to try to get around the fact that you're trying to miseducate these kids by not hiring qualified teachers. It's bull. It's bull.
And no, it's true
and
because
your kids are falling to it. If you
I
want,
also have worked for a
I worked
charter.
for a charter, Edwin Soto. So did I for 10 years. For 10 years.
And then
My
even
mom spent most of her
breathing.
time trying to figure out how to get around rules and prevented her from giving the kids what they really needed versus what the education system tried to evaluate them,
And her off of.
and her off of. I can't hear you.
No, are you able to hear me? Do you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, I mean, I can hear you clearly. Are
I'm like,
you
what is
able
did
to
I
hear
do
me now?
something?
Probably. Are you able to hear me now?
Mine's
Probably your
working.
headphones. Because I mean, I have. Let me see. Are you able to hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Let me see. Just want to make sure really quickly. Just want to make sure.
Oh,
Uh,
I got it.
you got me?
Yep, I got you now. We're
Gotcha.
back.
No, so yeah, I mean, absolutely, because we understand too. I think this is very important that we're talking about education, because a lot of people don't understand. In our dance world, a lot of the people that are our dance instructors, dance influencers, performers are in the educational sector, and these topics that we talk about are very important. And just like here, Guy says, but with Edwin, because Edwin Soto from the DC area, he is extremely popular with him teaching his dance program, and it's definitely gone viral. And
Here's my point though. Charter schools were originally founded by a guy who was a union guy who wanted to create a charter. The original idea for charter schools were teachers who wanted to do exactly what Bree, I believe, just pointed out. It was a group of teachers who wanted to have the freedom to use alternative methods to educate those children who otherwise weren't able to be reached through differentiated lessons within classrooms. You gave the authority to educators to like literally professional educators to create a charter to reach these children, the ones who needed it more than ever. But within 3 to 4 years, that guy has already taken it back, and even Diane Ravitch has taken it back and is anti-charter. Why? Because all it did was build the business model, and you have 80% of charters in places like Michigan that are for profit, meaning they are tax funded but get to keep money off of our children's head, and there is no data, I don't care where you try to pull it from, that reflects that charters perform better than traditional public schools. The data doesn't reflect that. But nonetheless, going back to the dancing scene, you're absolutely correct. There's plenty of, because it's in your DNA. You want to help, or you want to build, and you want to grow. At the end of the day, I feel like, our some of our best teachers, or our best artists, really. I mean, our best artists in the community are actually educators, like you point out.
no, absolutely. Even Edwin says KIP, because that school itself, KIP, is run throughout the country, but it's also run by a former educator. And this is stuff. Even Courtney says, my son went to a charter school. I love them. So everybody again has a different experience.
I'm not sitting here trying
No, no,
to,
no,
to
no, no,
knock
no.
on knock on charters, because listen, look at what I told you. I worked for charters for a decade, for 10 years. But unfortunately, I don't just my viewpoint doesn't afford me the opportunity to sit here and say you're lucky enough to go to a good charter school. Because you want to know, here in New Orleans, charter schools
Yeah.
are all about school choice. But there isn't one traditional public school in the entire city of New Orleans left. Every
Mm.
single school in New Orleans is charter. What if I want to go to a traditional public school like the one that I was educated in? There
Yeah.
isn't one in New Orleans that exists. What if I want to work at a school that is not a charter school? There isn't one in New Orleans. What if I want to send my two children to a school that's not a charter? It isn't one left. So you tell me, where is the power that I have if I take an issue with my charter school? If I take an issue with my charter school, I have to go to the board, but ultimately I have no authority over the board like I would if they were elected. I can remove you. It's good for right now, but Look at what happened post Katrina here in New Orleans. It's
Uh-huh.
how New Orleans became 100% charter. Overnight, they fired 100% of the teachers throughout the entire city.
Mm.
They sent them an email and said, "Go pick up your final check from Western Union." Every single teacher in the city of New Orleans was let go overnight after Katrina. So it wasn't
Wow.
just the dancing scene that had to rebuild. I started working 2010 in education.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only 5 years after Katrina, and it finally became 100% charter in 2018. The last school that was left, 35, was the last one that was left, and it fell 2018. And every school in New Orleans ever since has been 100% charter.
Man, and to be honest, like, even when you're talking about school, I definitely noticed what I loved about you so much was that you kind of meshed the social media platform into the school experience because I still remember times that I would see you, I believe on your Instagram, that you would do videos with your students. And for me, that was something different because I guess a lot of teachers, even though they want to inspire these kids, they kind of want to inspire them from 8 to 2, and after that, I don't know you, and that's a reality.
I want to, honestly, I didn't, I guess when I recorded those videos, we were just having fun. Like, I
Yeah,
wasn't thinking, and it's crazy because it got to a point that I couldn't anymore
yeah,
because they were just like, because of minors and things like that, like, unless you have consent, you can't post pictures. Like, it got to a point in my charter district at one point that they told us that my students couldn't call me Miss G no more. I'm not even lying. I was like, so if my student calls me Miss G, what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to correct them and tell them to call you Miss Garcia because that's the proper sign of respect. What?
so I can't. I have to call. So I have to call you Miss Garcia. I can't just take out a few letters and still call you Miss G, even though we had.
My entire career they called me Miss G, but it got to what I'm saying is the point is that these directives in some charter schools and it's wide across the spectrum. But again, I can't just look at outliers, right? When you're looking at the collectivity of these charter schools experiences, I can't just look at the outliers like a school like Noma that I just
Yeah,
finished and retired from, where it's a fantastic charter. It's the best one that I've ever seen, honestly. It's the largest military the JROTC program in the entire country. I work for a military institution, New
mhm,
Orleans Military and Maritime Academy. It's a charter school, you know what I mean? But it just because of these outliers, I can't ignore the overwhelming billions of dollars that go to businesses and corporations, ultimately making money off of children's lives. Because the last institution that did that was the prison system.
yeah. And we realize too is that in our life, a lot of people don't understand that the prison system itself, a lot of them are for profit, private prisons, and
That's the
every
whole point.
yeah,
You just literally in my mind, whenever New Orleans, it was depressing. Like it hit me hard when they voted because what is the point of my? You tell me, what is the point of my Orleans Parish School Board? You have no schools, none. You don't govern any schools because 80 something different charter networks, you manage
mhm,
80 charter networks. And you don't care what they do. You don't care if they don't hire qualified teachers. You don't care if they hire convicted felons, which was what my lawsuit was about for the sexual harassment and whatnot. You don't care what they do so long as they produce passing test scores. And it's only an issue if they get caught cheating like LB Landry was. But,
yeah.
I mean, nonetheless, we can move on.
No, absolutely. But at least before we go on, I definitely want to get this question answered by Guy.
Is there the possibility of some qualified board to overlook charter schools to ensure qualified individuals are educating our system? I don't know, guys. So I don't know if, depending upon how it works for you and in your state and how your local laws and things like that line up. So for me in New Orleans, this is where it breaks down. Our parishes, when I say parish, I mean your counties, right? So New Orleans had an Orleans Parish School Board, and they own the buildings for the schools, right?
Yes.
So they just lease out the buildings. They'll lease it to you because you created a charter school, and you can rename a building that's been McDonough 35 the entire time. You can name it to whatever you want because you're leasing the
Yeah.
building, you're becoming a tenant, right? But at the end, you have these 80 different, imagine these different charter networks in a tiny unit. So inside within the city of New Orleans, you have 80 different charter networks, but each of their CEOs and their board, they're supposed to be the qualified ones to hire the CEO, or not the CEOs, but the principals of the schools to make sure that the principals themselves, it gives the autonomy. The way our education system is set up, the autonomy is given to charters. The charters themselves have autonomy to hire qualified or unqualified teachers, but 9 out of 10 times they hire these TFA teachers, which, by the way, a TFA teacher only has to go to school for 5 weeks.
Wow.
I had to go to school for years. I got my undergrad. I had to go through an alternative certification program. I had to go through student teaching, all to become a teacher. But these CFA teachers who come fresh out of a class in 5 weeks, they're heralded because they give 2 years and then, you know, they get student loans forgiven or all these different benefits. Then you're educated, which is why it's hard to hire qualified teachers because a qualified teacher is going to want pay. But do you want qualified teachers or do you want somebody to just be in the room to shut their mouth, teach them how to do ELA and math, which are only two subjects that are required to go on?
Yeah.
And everybody else can just fall by the wayside. The charters are supposed to be the ones that are supposed to hire the principals. But let's say you have an issue with your principal or the way that your principal or your school, you have to take that up with the board. But again, unless it's just you individually going against your board, what power do you have? You're one person. You think that the board's going to listen to one person? That's like me going to Walmart. You think they're going to listen to
Yeah.
me? No. You would have
Yeah.
to it would have to be something so outrageous that the board would actually be fearful to even listen to anything that you do. Because
Mm,
ultimately you hold no power or authority over a charter school board. That's the
yeah.
whole point, right? They're given the autonomy to do whatever they want.
Absolutely. And I definitely understand and I agree. And I think now we can transition into, you of course being an educator at one point, being a teacher, but then also now you're in this New Orleans dance scene. And for me, I guess I actually started getting into New Orleans dance scene 2010. I still remember it was where that dog Nola is, right in I think it's Bourbon or near Frenchman. There was or if it's around that area, there was like a nice like Latin jazz spot that used to be right around that area.
Dragons Den?
Not is somewhere around Dragons Den. It was very kind of a funkyish. It's where they do a lot of second line bands. It's on a corner side.
I think you're
Um,
talking about Frenchmen that Frenchman area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I remember 2010. I was going there, and I would see people like Chino. I would see people like yourself, and I would see so many different dancers. And I think for me, I started to realize that coming from New York, I had to realize I had to learn salsa on one. That was one like culture shock because it was like a kid from New
Yo,
York coming, and then he like
the truth in that statement though.
so I know you did casino, so I guess like going was for you. You went from casino into on one, or how did that process for you go?
Well, hold on. For me, I started dancing Rueda, but was always on one for me. So it was super easy for me to just go from dancing Rueda and just go from
Yeah.
a circle and switching partners to just literally on the line. The line felt a little bit restrictive. I'm not going to lie for the very first time because I was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Am I not
Yeah.
supposed to be like, like what are we doing? But um, I'll say that it was a transition and still challenging to this day because, um, there's certain habits from my very, very, very early on in my foundation that I still carry on like to this day. You know what I mean? Like I have, when I first started dancing on two was with, like I said, Uriel, and he said, you dance on one or on two? And I was like, Just, just dance and
Uh,
I'll follow. It's
yeah,
like, okay, bet.
exactly.
And I want to say that was like maybe 2005 or 2006. But this is what I'll say, and I used to tell this
Mhm.
to Dejan all the time. What I love about the fact that I have that background coming from Cuban is that I can dance literally with anybody. I have a certain, and even in my living in Dominican Republic for that period of time, I I have the diversity to really kind of get along or kind of just follow along or kind of just do whatever, like on one, on two, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
No, no,
I
I
had
mean,
to adjust because a lot of people on the East Coast and especially in New York, obviously, is definitely more on two. And then when you come to New Orleans, yeah, it's definitely more of an
yeah, it
on
was like,
one.
because I remember people be like, oh, we got this kid from New York, have him just dance. And then I don't even ask the females that I'm dancing with, but I automatically see what they're dancing. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to learn real fast.
Well, I taught on one. I'm not gonna lie because that's where my roots and where I feel like most comfortable at. You know what I mean? Like from following and leading in a leading perspective. But
Yes, that no, I think that is important because I'm sorry to cut you off, but that was one thing when I first really got to see you dance, and I was amazed because you were literally, in my eyes, the strongest lead, not just male, female, but you were and I will tell everyone this when I saw you dance. Out of maybe, I would say another person would be Raymond Armand. That was another person that I
yeah,
love.
Ray
Him
Ray's my
and
dog.
him and Hirsch, but you guys specifically, but you as a female were like the strongest lead that I saw in New Orleans. And it was a shock for me because coming from New York, you did not see women lead during that time. And to me to see you, I was like, wow. And then just women would just come constantly, 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 and just want to learn from you and just dance with you. How was that experience? Like being kind of more subject, did you feel like you were more subject to lead? And did you feel like you had kind of like scrutiny in a
I
sense?
dog. Listen, so Katrina, right? Katrina happens. The scene's gone. I'm learning. I've been dancing for maybe 2 years, so I have the basics. But I started teaching with Chino because I wanted to learn how to teach. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see like how do you break this down, and I wasn't teaching in a classroom at the time, but um, it got to a point after Katrina though that I knew how to dance, and I was trying to learn how to teach, but it was extremely difficult because there really weren't any guys to dance with.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to lead by teaching one of my girlfriends and practicing with one of my girlfriends, like in LSU Rec Center, or just going up to girls and dancing in the scene, and you can see them carrying the basic rhythm, and me just going there and trying things out. Like I didn't take classes to learn how to lead. I learned how to lead out of vibes and necessity. I didn't have no other choice. Like if I wanted to dance,
You had to lead.
I was gonna have to learn how to lead, and I've been leading literally ever since Katrina, since 2005. But the beautiful part was I ain't never had to worry about ever no creepers. I didn't have to worry about like ever going somewhere and just posting up on the side and not being able to dance because I could dance at any
No,
time.
and no, I
You give
saw
me
that because
somebody who wants to dance and I'm with it. Guy, girl, I'm with it. Let's go.
and I can say this from experience. I would come to New Orleans almost yearly at one point, and I would notice like there weren't very male leads. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right
It took
because
time. I mean, it's just taking time, And but there's significant leads in the scene now,
oh no, no, no,
man.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, back in the day, no, but now like you have the scene has just grown so immensely.
No,
Like,
absolutely.
and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing because this is honestly, this was what I dreamed of whenever I told David Melendez back in 2005. I was like, man, they need to have one of these in New Orleans. This was pre Katrina. They need to have one of these in New Orleans. And he's like, you should have one. I said, man, no, I'm barely even dancing at this point in time. He said, well, maybe Troy and Georgette. I said, you know what? That's a good idea, sir. And I went back and I started taking lessons with Troy and Georgette. And then within 3 to 4 months later, Katrina happened. But then afterwards, I remember seeing David again. I want to say 2006,
Yeah.
and Edwin and all them. And was it 2006? I can't remember. my all the years we together so long ago. But I remember um, him telling me to do that, and just thinking that's way beyond my pay grade. Like I can't I can't host the Congress. Like I can't host it. There's so many more people that are more qualified to handle this job. Like somebody's gonna do it, but that's what ultimately led me to start looking into Troy and Georgette at the time. But then, like I said, Katrina happened. But I mean, after the years after Katrina, and working and teaching and growing, and slowly but surely, Mary Angel and Derek and Sergio and Deshawn and Bianca and did I say Mary Angel and Derek? Like everybody. Um, that's Shay now, Josh,
I think at one point
Mayo,
there was Jana Blake's, there was Jimmy
Renee
Salsarito.
Rammon. Yeah, like
Yeah, like
there's so many. The scene is, and it's not immune to the trials and the tribulations and I hate to use the word quickiness, but it's not immune to any of the struggles that exist within any community anywhere.
yeah,
You know what I mean? They exist. There's histories, there's past, there's feelings, there's emotions, there's there's mistakes, there's being forgiven, there's been. It's just a some collectivity of it. But like I always used to tell this to Dejan, and it's always carried me through. And I always ask myself, and I told you this one thing. This
yeah,
one thing has carried me through a lot of things. If it's good, is it good for the community?
yeah,
If the answer is yes, leave it alone. Doesn't even matter if it hurts your pride, your ego, nothing in it. It's above you. Because
yeah.
some things are just above you. When you really truly love and you do what you do for the community, if you ask yourself that question and you're able to be intellectually mature enough to answer it responsibly, and you say that yes, even if it means somebody's eating more than you, somebody's being more successful than you, is it good for the scene? You'll be good. If it's not, and it's damaging,
Yeah.
then you need to address it.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, even me, I always consider New Orleans a second home, but I would go there, and don't get me wrong, I could see the clickiness, and for me, I deal with that in New York. So for me, it was kind of always telling people, I associate with everyone, and I see that New Orleans is growing because New Orleans went through something vicious. Like
Mm.
Katrina wiped a lot of things out, and what my assumption was from 2010 till now, my grand assumption or my opinion is really that when Katrina happened and it kind of the resurgence kind of followed, people
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to hold on to say I was there and I was a part of it and it was me that helped this resurgence. But you can't do a lot with just me. You can do a lot more with we. And for me, it's like a kid coming from New York and going to different schools and people telling me this and that, and I'm like, but what are you doing for the community? I'm coming here from New York and I'm telling people about here in New York. I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting people to come to New York to come here because I told them how much of a scene there is. And it's places like Dragon's Den, places like Mojitos, places like Silhouette,
Oh, Chalet,
Mo
Copacabana,
Chalet. Like, and this is not,
Copacabana. That's why I learned how to dance. Boo, you ain't saying nothing but say hello.
yeah, but and see for now, see to talk about that, I really want to know now to the next topic is the experience of you now becoming a traveling dancer and then kind of
Oh
becoming
God.
more into the global or the nationwide scene. And how did that experience happen?
I'll say this, and I'll be completely honest and transparent. I don't consider myself the best dancer in the world. I don't consider myself and my talent to be, that of champions. I would never even begin to even remotely compare myself to some of the people that I almost feel at this point it's why I want to promote events instead of putting myself on the stage, because I don't want it to be like I am this phenomenal dancer, or
Mhm.
like I just enjoyed dancing, and I think that people took classes with me or whatever, like, or invited me to events, and for the vibe. Like,
Mhm.
because I think that people genuinely, honestly, I think that's how it came down to ADC, because I was just as shocked as anybody else. that I lost to the chick with the side boob. Like sis was
Yeah.
banging, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the girls that I dog, I'm 30 something years old, showing up to compete with these. No shame on the girls because I'm super like, by them they were gorgeous. But these 12 years old with no cellulite, no babies, no babies that have been taking
Yeah.
whatever you had left, you know what I mean? And I'm like, these young, beautiful women, I didn't think I stood a chance. But I was like, you know what, I did it. I ain't lying. I even told Edwin Rivera, I was like, if I'm lying, I'm dying. You can ask him to confirm this because he was on ADC at the time, right?
Mhm.
So I got on ADC 2014, my first year by myself, not knowing anybody because I had dipped out of the scene when I had gotten married and had
Yes.
kids or whatever. So I go back on ADC by myself, meet everybody, go back in 2014, get into the thing, and I told Edwin, I said, "Dog, y'all doing a Miss ADC pageant?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm thinking about it." He said, maybe you should just give it a try. I said, "I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna do it just for Nola." He said, "What you mean?" I said, "Just as long as I get on stage and somebody says New Orleans and that thing,
Yeah.
I go." Because I wanted people. ADC was the largest Latin dance cruise in the entire world, and somebody had to get on and let them know that dog. Oh, like I'm
Yeah.
dying over here in New Orleans. Like we need people in the country, in the world, to know that New Orleans. There is people that's out here. There are people trying to build this scene, and we're trying to come back. And there's people that's here because I'm here. Please come dance with me, please. Like
Yeah.
that's
No,
what I'm here
it's
for.
true. Like seriously, like from my opinion, at those times, like I've been through the dance cruise, that largest like dance cruise. That wasn't a way of people, a great networking. Like you said, you coming from New Orleans and like representing, and then eventually becoming Miss ADC.
I remember that. I was
Memories.
saying, I was just shocked as hell. I think I still got the video somewhere. Like the look on my face, I was like, "Oh, I made the top five. That's what's up." Like that.
even Watson says, "Yo, that pageant was legendary."
Yo, I was just like, look, I'm sitting there, and sis was in a white one piece, and she had like the I can't remember her name for anything in this world. But Watson, you know what I mean, dog. She had on the white bathing suit, and she could turn to the side, and she had the really perfect side boob, and I was just like, oh, I'm so
Oh,
happy for you. Like I'm so happy for you, sis. I wish I want that. No, that ain't for me. But I'm happy for you. And I was just like, I'm about to lose this, but I made top five. And they were like, everyone was like, Rubia and Garcia, him and Clifton. And I was
yeah.
like, me, me, no way. But it was everybody afterwards.
Mhm.
Man, I think that when it came down to it, going to Bachateando, going to ADC and Texas Salsa Congress and the events that I attended was always more about I believe the people. That's why ADC was so personal to me. It was always personal because maybe I wasn't the most talented of people on the boat, but I loved people. I loved all the people on the boat. I didn't care who you were, from the janitor to the waiter to anybody that's up there. Anybody, I can understand a little bit of it. The crazy part is I went in this ABC before social media even became a thing for me because I didn't go
Yeah.
viral until months after I had already won ADC. So I was like, this is really weird. Where is this coming from? First, I'm winning this pageant for the largest Latin dance crew in the world, and then 2 months later, I'm going viral. I was like, I didn't even know what viral was.
And I think you went. I remember too. You went viral definitely after ADC, but was it more for the dancing or was it kind of just?
No, my viral video was political.
Gotcha.
Not really political, but it was more humanitarian. Because the first video that I did, I'll say this: I after my divorce, I got separated in 2014 by what promulgated me to 20. It was June 2014 that me and my ex had separated, and then I went on ADC the first year in November of 2014. Um,
Hmm.
Kyla, I'm sorry.
Kyla.
Sorry. Hey, I love you, Rubik. Rubik. No, I went on ADC that first year, and then I was redefining myself. I'm a newly single mother. You
Mhm,
know, I haven't been dancing in years. I don't have the
mhm.
same body. I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't have the same freedom and time. And I'm trying to navigate these new lanes all, on my own. And then it came for I forgot, I lost where I was because I got lost in the comments.
No, 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 no.
I
The
saw earlier that I
viral.
was like ADC good times, and then like a million different scenes just flashed into my
I,
head from ADC.
oh no, no. We'll get back to that. But I remember we were talking about like that viral video that kind of just
Oh, the
pushed
viral
you.
video. Yeah, I I had based my I had started gaining a following because I was lost in that period, and I started writing more. And that's when people I really don't do it that often anymore, but you would see a selfie of me in a positive quote, whether it was something that I wrote, something that I found that was inspirational, something that I put in my journal, just some random thing. It would be a selfie and a quote.
Hmm.
So I had actually started building a following just off of my writing and things like that, but I was doing that selfishly for me. Like I
Right.
took selfies because I needed an excuse to get up out of the morning and to get up in the morning and put myself together for
Mhm.
my two kids and my kids inside of my classroom because I was in such a dark place. And then I started to have a following, like maybe a couple thousand followers. I remember right before I went viral, I remember posting, and Archie laughed at me, Archie Uno from Houston. I remember
Yeah.
posting being like, "Who are you? Like 3,000 followers, and where did you come from?" Because I didn't even know that you could follow a person. Like I thought that it was friends, like friends and the friends.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, I do a video in which it was right after Tamir Rice, and they announced on the news that they weren't going to prosecute the cops that had killed Tamir Rice.
Mhm.
Tamir Rice was the young man, the 14, sorry, the 12-year old
Yeah.
that was killed in 2014 by the police officers for the toy gun.
Yeah.
And I couldn't process it anymore. Like I saw one of my students when I watched that video.
Hmm.
I felt my eyes were assaulted because what I felt my spirit was assaulted because I felt like I was watching the murder of one of my children, like one of my
Yes.
boys. You know what I mean? One of my students is right there, and I see him reaching for it, but he knows that it's a fake gun. So if anything, he's reaching for it and being like, "Yo, it ain't real," but it doesn't matter because you already killed him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I did a video on that. And then, like, within, I want to say, maybe 48 hours, a girlfriend of mine was like, "Sis, I think you went viral." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Is that what this is called? Like, all these DMs and these comments and these notifications? Is that what this is called? Because this is insane." And then the next thing you know, it's just
And
at that point, it came down to what do you do when you have a following like that and you have a platform? It can be because I thought seriously, and every couple of months I still sit back and consider seriously about backing away and stepping back because it's a lot. It's not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean?
it is. It's a great responsibility that comes with the position of authority you actually have, either if you wanted it or not. I mean, in actuality, like you said, you were in a dark place at one point, and kind of social media and you getting out of bed and doing these selfies, it really showed how much people really appreciate you. I mean, give or take, especially on social media, you're gonna always have your trolls, but you're gonna have a lot of your supporters. But for me, I was seeing your growth on social media and seeing so many people that were inspired by those quotes, inspired by your videos because they were feeling the same sentiments as you, but they didn't know how to put it into words.
That's what I was. I think I told you this the other day. You know what comments I live for are the days, and I reflect back to the very early days that I did this, and I was sharing those things because it was a very selfish thing that I was doing. Like if you think about it, I was being
Yeah.
very selfish because I was literally posting a picture of myself so I could get some kind of feedback to be like,
It's
give me
me.
attention and love. Hey, love me right now. You know what I mean? But when I started, I used to live for the comments where people would be like, yo, I really needed to read this right now.
Yeah.
And I still, to this day, I live for those comments whenever I post something or say something and somebody's like, yo, I really needed to see this, because you know what that tells me? And a person who suffers with anxiety or depression, or just a person in general, the biggest thing that people fear most in their life is the things that they don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can have a fear of spiders and things like, but in a general sense, I believe that people tend to fear the things most that they don't know, and that's why people are mostly generally afraid when it's absolute black and darkness. And when you're into to levels of blackness and darkness, and you're there, and it's very scary by yourself. But when you're there, and somebody sits there and taps you on the shoulder and says, "You're not alone. I'm here with you." That's what I felt like those comments were when people said those things, and it started out to be very selfish because I was doing it for me, but then it was very selfless because it in trying to help myself, I realized that other people were realizing the connection between the two of us, and we might not even know each other, but the fact of the matter is struggle affects everybody. Struggle hits everybody. I don't care who you are, your geography, your gender, what bathroom you use, who you're calling God, none of your profession, how many decimals, I'm sorry, or how many commas are in your bank account. Struggle is going to hit us all.
Yeah.
And it felt good to know that in darkness that I wasn't alone. And I think that it became a more reciprocal and a mutually beneficial relationship for myself and my followers, because it's a vibe. You know what I mean? It's a vibe between, and like I said, it's a mutually beneficial respect and relationship between us, because they know that I genuinely, am I perfect? Absolutely not. But I genuinely care for people.
Yeah.
I would never go essentially out of my way to try to mess over somebody, and anybody that knows me personally would know something like that. But um, I think yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it.
No, no, I definitely I get it because you know what you're doing. You could feel in the beginning is selfish because of the reasoning you're doing, but when you kind of go deeper into that, what they call a rabbit hole, you start
Hmm.
realizing that your selfishness turns into selflessness, and there are people being inspired with what you're saying, and do need those words of affirmation to kind of get through the day, get through their own troubles.
I believe that the powers that be give people gifts, certain people gifts. Like yours, it was your gift and your ability to talk to people, to organize, to get them together, to have the sense of setting up all of this, what you got going on here, because it's impressive. All I
Thank
do is hit live, and then I go on about my business. You know what I mean? I go
you.
on yelling, and then all I do is hit live and go on and start screaming. So, but you have, I believe certain people are given gifts, whether it's this, whether it's me and me telling stories and my political and historical talents and my geekiness, or whether it's artistry, and then artistry breaks down to dance or to music, or things like that, or you're a healer, you know what I mean? Or whatever your particular talents, I believe that people in the world are given certain talents and certain gifts. And I believe in fostering those types of gifts. I believe in enhancing those things, and I believe that one of my gifts that I've been fortunate, and it wasn't actualized until the platform, until
Mhm.
I was like, "What do you mean I went viral?" And I was like, "Wow!" And then I did another video shortly thereafter, kind of explaining the difference between All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter in a very Barney style simple form, and it went
Mhm.
viral again. And what I pay attention to the comments is people who are like, "Man, I swear, I've been trying to say that for months. I don't know how you came around it. All you did was just literally take everything that was going on inside of my head and put it out." So if at the end of the day, my platform can serve a positive purpose in the sense that A, it encourages somebody to speak who would have otherwise been silent. B, it encourages somebody to share a message that they fully well agree with, but also might lack not the intellectual, but just the capability in order to articulate that message. I believe that especially now more than ever, being the fact that this happened, my first viral video was 2016, 15, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
I believe that now, over the last couple of years, with the consistency, everybody's starting to see now by the millions of people who are taken into the streets behind all of this. Finally, that all of these things that have been in the discussion, I know that in my heart that I was right to not walk away because I wanted to at a certain point. Because is it worth it when you're talking about threatening my life, when you're
Yeah.
talking about pain and raping my kids, when you're talking about taking away my job, when you're talking about taking away my kids inside outside the classroom, when you start to face those really grave consequences for your right to your freedom of speech,
Yeah.
it starts to be a really deep and personal conversation, especially when it's that you're talking about your financial and physical freedom.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it was a moment that you have to, I think that and this is the same type of authority or the same type of privilege it is to be an authoritative figure inside of the dancing community,
No,
like a
that is
teacher.
yes, that is very true. And I mean, even as we're getting into that, I mean, I think it's also very it's amazing that you coming from where you have come from probably early 2000s, wanting to learn, be ingratiated in this dance culture. So present day, you being the owner or the founder, I would say, of the NOLA Salsa Bachata Festival. You know, you going from a prospect student to a regular social dancer to a teacher to an organizer, that speaks volumes. I mean, anyone else can try to do it, but you were one of the very few that did it.
Man, listen, it gets done all the time. There's nothing special and profound about me. I think that's honestly what blows my mind, D. I'm not even lying with you. Like it
Hmm.
blows my mind because people I can understand the hesitancy when people see me because they see the social media, right? When
Yes.
they see the followers, they see the perception, but they don't know me like you know me. Like really, like
Yeah.
Lindsay, and I'm cool with everybody. They know
Yeah.
my name, but everybody calls me Rubia, right? So we just go with it. But like Lindsay. Like what?
Because the thing is, for me, I tell people it's like for when they say Rubia, in my mind, I'm always just want to say Lindsay. It's just because I knew you before the social media, so it was just like we have a different relationship. But it's important that people see the humility, the human side, because you're always a human. A human.
Baby, it's really hard to have my head up there whenever I know damn good and well what I do on ADC every single year. You know what I mean? Like
Yes. Oh my
I'm not
God.
gonna sit here and act holier than that when I know what goes down on that stage. Please stop.
But I'll tell you this too is like that really does also transition because again on places like ADC and places like other festivals we always have a good time. You can have a good
Always.
time. We have a good time in the socials, the parties, the after parties, but also now we come to a head recently where a lot of those good times weren't so great for a lot of people and a lot of women.
Yeah, you right about that.
And for me it's like to realize, I mean, these experiences that specifically a lot of women have been posting about on social media about their personal experiences with sexual assault at these same festivals that we love. Those stories honestly have been told, but a lot of people were scared to say it, or they have told their stories, but as a dance culture we were so fixated on things being great and let's have a good time that we forgot about the stuff that really was wrong. And specifically, recently, like a friend of mine is Marietta Villalobos, a friend of mine named Brianna, and others have been talking about these experiences, and they're real, and talking to so many more women and realizing that the people who are causing this harm are really some of these quote unquote famous instructors, famous directors, famous performers. And I guess for us, we kind of are naive because we can say, how, no way it could be them. But in actuality, when you hold that much power, that responsibility is there. But a lot of these instructors, as of recent, that have been put on that spot and have been called out, it really takes our scene to kind of look back and say, what's really going on?
Well, this is what I'm going to do. Before I get into this, sorry, I apologize.
No, no worries.
I ran out of my drink. So this is a discussion, and it's one of the reasons why I reconnected and definitely reached out to you again and touched bases because this is extremely personal. So do you mind if I go make myself another drink for this? Because anybody who knows me
Absolutely.
already knows what time of day it is. It's Crown Apple time, so I shall
Even
refrain.
even even Guy says it's about to go down.
It's about that sounds like I'm not even about to sit here and play. Y'all know what time of day it is.
Oh yeah.
I want to see the comments. How do I see the comments? Tell me how do I see them?
You probably can go on Facebook. You just click that live video. You can see him going down as well.
It's not coming up for me. Like I'm on my iPad.
Oh my God, we just actually it just went from like 20 to like 75 now.
Well,
Now
I
it's
was able
like,
to finally figure out how to share it to my page.
oh
So
yeah,
God
yeah.
said it's about to go down. Okay, I'm trying to see how I because the comments aren't like they're not flowing.
No, because you know
Um,
what? When we're live here, it's always like a 5-10 second delay on a Facebook or a YouTube. So you'll kind of see it after the fact, but on
after the
this,
fact, it's cool. It's all good. So, all right. So, huh?
wait, I gotta give some cheers to you, please. Thank you.
Salud.
Salud.
Mm.
Ah.
Number one, Roberto Rosario.
Mm.
So this was one of the first big names that I saw that popped out. Now I hired him in for New Orleans Salsa Bachata Festival in 2018. I have nothing against him. You know what I mean? I have nothing against like the Mamo twins. I have nothing against them personally. They've never done anything to me personally, so on and so forth. But it goes down to not just him, but there are certain people within the dancing community that I just feel at a certain point in time. And this is coming from somebody who, outside of the dancing community, has millions of followers on social media.
Hmm.
But the one thing that I always told Dejan is it doesn't matter how far you go, doesn't matter how popular you are, doesn't matter all the tricks and dips and stuff like that. People don't remember what you do, they remember the way you make them feel while
Yes.
doing what it is that you do. You know what I mean? And there's certain people that I've noticed, and this is why I'm very selective. And Guy knows, Guy's gonna know the SBF. He knows what time of day it is. I'm selective about the people that come to NOLA SBF because I've had my experiences, as you know, that I've played every role, right? I've been the nobody that nobody knows. That I'm the one that's geeked out, and I'm like, oh my God, this top name wants to talk to me. I've been the thought. Let's be real. Let's just lay it all out there. I've been the groupie. I've been the thought. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I've been that young girl that's been out there and been hyped up about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But this is a very touchy subject for me
Absolutely.
because I don't. He was. I mentioned him because he was the first one that I noticed that people started to speak. The last one was extremely. It was different because I have a personal relationship with Manuel dos Santos. I know Manuel and Dr. Kisomba. Just like in literature, we know Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Hmm.
Anybody who knows him knows Mr. Manuel dos Santos and Dr. Kisomba. They know the difference. But this is the culture. You know what I mean? Remember how I said the era? When I think back into to Congress, and this is when it gets real. When I think back into Congresses, when I first started dancing, what made me fall in love with dancing, it was on one, it was on two, it was whatever. It was one room, and we all was just vibing. There was no bachata room. There was no Kizomba Zouk room. And it's not to say that there's anything bad about the diversity that now exists. But what I'm saying is, are we all going to be completely oblivious to the fact that we have almost hyper sexualized our
Yeah.
culture from the costumes to the dance moves to everything. If I've never in the last year I haven't seen, well, because of COVID, but when I
Mhm.
look through it, I have not seen a bachata video or a routine where at least one of the girls in the routine didn't do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's I remember performing and putting on like certain things where certain costume is like if this goes bad, you guys can see my ovaries, my uterus. You
You about to
you
see
got
the
to
whole
see
thing. The
all my
whole
business. You
thing.
know what I mean? But when it comes down to Manuel, there's personal things that I wanna lay out. You know what I mean? And I guess I think to make sure that I don't run off on a tangent. I think that I should just let you ask me a question and I'm just gonna lay it out. Like for instance, ask me a question. Ask me what the hell happened that morning. Whatever he said and we talked on the phone because that would be amazing to clear up. That would be
Absolutely. I mean, I from what I remember, it was that beginning in that morning. First, it was a discussion.
five 5 a.m.
Oh no, I didn't know that. But I mean, before you, there was a discussion he was having with Douglas on social media, and he was talking about how Douglas reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, I've been hearing what's been going on. You're being called out for sexual assault with multiple women in your dance scene. What's up? I need to know what's happening." And from my perspective of me watching that video and many others, to be honest, Manuel's statements were not putting him in the best light or good light at all. And then afterwards, I realized that video got taken down because of legal purposes. I realized that, you know, that it got taken down. And then I think almost immediately after, then I see Manuel does a video with you.
Reverse.
Okay. So
So what
actually,
happened
yours.
was 5 o'clock in the morning at the crack of dawn. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm scrolling and I come across a post where somebody is saying, "Hey, I want to know." Hey, the tags Manuel and says, and it's again, my eyes just cracked open. I see a post and literally says, Manuel, I just want to know what happened. Is it true? And then I see Manuel comments on it, and you know how Manuel's personality is. He's like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, baby." He posts some meme basically ridiculing the statement of the girl who had said something about him. Now,
Yes.
he posted a screenshot of the actual accusation, right? The difference between sexual and sensual. Yes, that whole other ballgame. But nonetheless, I see him commenting and he's almost ridiculing the girl
Hmm.
who supposedly made this statement. I think this one was the anonymous one. The first one that I saw
Yes.
was the anonymous one.
Hmm.
So I read what she said and I was like, when this one, if I'm not mistaken, there was something to this one where I was like, it was off, but you try to sit there in your head, and I think it's important to note that you're talking to a woman who has been sexually assaulted, been the victim of sexual abuse, and has had federal lawsuits in federal court for sexual harassment. So this is me trying, but even still, I'm also the baby sister of 8 older brothers. So I'm much more open because of all of these vast experiences to all different scenarios. Plus, I think like an attorney, even though I'm not one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm very objective in that regard. But there were certain things that I was like, playing devil's advocate. Some things don't gel, but some things very much did.
Yeah.
And then I saw the way he reacted. So this is what I elected to do. I commented under his thing, and I said, "So what you're trying to say is that you've never done anything sexually inappropriate to a female ever."
Mm.
That's what I commented. And within minutes, he had messaged me and then he called me, video chat, and then I explained to him a few things. And this is before I got on the live with him. This is
Oh,
this
okay.
is
This.
before I got on the live. Because our video chat got cut because he says it in the live too. Our video chat had got cut because he had went into the bank. But he called me. I video chat him looking like a damn mountain troll at 5 a.m. I answered his video chat and I told him a few things, and I will recap to clear the air as to what transpired prior to that live. But here's the thing: anybody who saw me on that live, or and more importantly, anybody who knows me knows that something was not right, but it was only a matter of time. But Rubia wasn't going to sit there and do it in a post. I'm going to sit here and do it to your face so you can see it. You can
Yes.
feel it and you can tell the damn difference. So this is what happened.
Mhm.
When he calls me, I say, "What you're not gonna do? You're saying you didn't do it. Okay, it's a little bit okay. I'm gonna sit here and entertain the fact that you're saying that you didn't do it. At the end of the day, what you're not gonna sit here and do is deflect from the question because I asked you a question. That's what
Mhm.
drew you into my DMs. What drew you into my DMs was the comment that I made to you is, are you going to say that you have never touched a woman inappropriately, sexually in an inappropriate way? Are you going to say that to me?
Mhm.
That's what I said in the comment. And at the end of the day, he can't say that. He knows that of all people, he can't say that to me. He can't, which is why I asked him, which is why he called me. So then I told him, I said, why do you think, number one, why do you think I didn't, I'm friends with you and I'm cool with you. But why do you think you never came to NOLA SBF? Everybody knows that me and you are at least on friendship level, but why do you think I never brought you to NOLA SBF? Because I love you. I think that Manuel Dos Santos is an amazing person, but Dr. Kisomba isn't worth the risk.
Mm.
I can't afford to bring Dr. Kisomba down because Dr. Kisomba, whenever I told him that about NOLA SBF, I told him that I think he's a phenomenal person because I do. I love Manuel Dos Santos. I'm afraid of Dr. Kisomba because Dr. Kisomba is this. It's not the set. It's the guy's right. Differentiate between sexual and sensual because what's happening is it's almost like, and I try to rationalize this in my mind because it does has his personal accountability to it, but then it also goes down to you know as a community when we send these artists to these communities every single day, and we put them in this pedestal and this they become so powerful,
Mhm.
and they're loved and they're adored, and it's difficult to even see them in a negative light.
Mhm.
But in Manuel's case, because he was so cool with everybody and even myself, but the difference was I forgave him. I forgave him, but I couldn't forgive him from not just the one anonymous story, but then the next story that came, and then the next story came. But those didn't come after. He called me. He called me on the live, or I got onto his live. Our conversation ended. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to the bank, Rubia. I can't talk to you. I got the phone's cutting out and everything." So that conversation ended, and then he goes live. I jump on his live, and then he adds me to the camera, and then I don't get a word out besides laughing at how ugly I look at 5 o'clock in the damn morning. And he's like, "No, because I listened to you because what I told him that morning was there ain't no way out of this for you, dog." And
Let
I'm not
me.
trying.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but let me. So
Mhm.
Elizabeth Perez has a question here. She says, "How can you separate the man from the artist and saying you love the man but not his fame persona?"
Because this is the way I view people. People are human.
Hmm.
Myself, I am human. But here's the thing: how did you sit there? Are you going to negate uh, Mr. Hyde because Dr. Jekyll exists? I'm not trying to conflate the two, but at the end of the day, I still believe he put himself in the position to do what he did. I still believe that to a certain degree, the way that the community exists,
Hmm.
we empowered him to go as far as he did, so much so that even to this day, he's threatening his legal recourse, his authority, his reaction, and how he's going to handle this in order to further punish those who have already seemingly been hurt by what he's done. But how
Yeah.
do I separate the person from the persona? It's really simple. I know him when he's sober.
Hmm.
I know him when
And
he doesn't drink. But
like
that's the
and like
thing.
yeah.
They don't want Manuel dos Santos. They want Dr. Kisomba at these events because Dr. Kisomba is the one that goes into the thing and wiggles it in, and oh, she likes it. That's the one that they want. They want the one that's loud, like at ADC. They want the one that doesn't show up for tech or shows up for his show 5 minutes late because he was too busy partying in the damn hot tub. That's what they want, right? Some events want Dr. Kisomba. I felt bad for the person, you know,
Hmm.
and I see somebody that, honest to God, is in trouble because I don't feel like that's normal behavior. I don't feel like somebody who acts and behaves the way that he does, and I know because I see it on a personal level. I don't believe somebody like that. I just seen different sides of who he is because I've
Yes.
worked with him. I've seen all sides, so I know the sober one. I know the logical one. I know the. I mean, he's charming. He's charismatic. He's talented, but he's also a sexual predator.
Yeah. And the fact is also too the fact that you can say you've had an experience with him, and when you said leading up to it was when you were listening to one of the stories, and it was something he said along the lines of, if we weren't at this point, or if this was a different time, and
I'll tell you like this. This is how I know they're not lying about me. And I'm just gonna cut to the chase and just save everybody. There needs to be okay. I'm just gonna cut to the chase and just say this no matter what. It's maybe 2017, 2018. I am walking across the deck at
I've been
ADC.
through ADC.
At ADC. I'm walking across the deck at ADC and Manuel is in the hot tub like he's dead. Like he's been there for hours. Anybody who's been on ADC knows that Manuel might as well just post up. They should just put his damn cabin right there and post up, because that's him, right? So I'm messed up. I'm messed up from my big toe up. You know what I mean? Because it's like day 2 or 3 of ADC. Um. So can you still hear me? Because it said battery low, so I might have to put my
Yeah,
headphones in.
yeah, no, you can
Um.
put your headphones in for sure.
But I'm coming across the deck and I'm already kind of twisted and wasted, and then somehow I'm in the hot tub. And this is how I know that these women are not lying. And this is to my everlasting shame right now. Up until all of this happened, which is again why I really, one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this discussion was because up until these women came forward, I really thought that I was the only one. Like, I didn't think that what had happened to me had happened to other people. In the sense of, I got picked up and put into that hot tub, and the next thing I know, he was underwater and trying to put his face in my vagina, and then before I knew it, he had his fingers inside of my vagina. So this is how I know collectivity, like collectively, whenever I'm reading these different stories of these women, I know that what they're saying is the truth because it's the same words. You know what I mean? It's the same actions, it's the same attempts. And make no mistake, the women that have come out are not the only, not the yeah guy.
I
Not
know.
only are these women, just imagine, because up until this point, I've never said that. I've never spoken out loud. I've never, and look at that guy, I just said that. I've never said this out loud because I thought that I was the only one that he had done this to. Why do you think that I commented him and tell them, are you going to tell me of all mother people that you ain't
Yeah,
never touched a female inappropriately? Me? That's not some on some social media authority kick. I'm saying that on a level of, you've done this for me, but why do you think I said that I forgave him? But just
yeah,
because I forgave you doesn't mean I'm willing to risk Dr. Kisoma being unleashed at other women and Nola SBF. And to my everlasting shame, I thought that I did not know, and it killed me for weeks. I did not know that this was something that was going on as regularly and as profound as it is. And now that it has, and now that I finally said all of this, it comes down to, okay, now what? I'm going to tell you like this. Anybody who knows me, anybody who truly, I don't know, can we curse on here?
We can curse on.
Anybody who fucks with me like talking about knows I love. I try to find the humanity people. I try to see the potential within who they are and try to see past all of the things that make them less of than what they are. And that includes Manuel. That includes what he did to me. Because, like I said, I forgave him for what he did for me. To me, I just didn't realize that it was that bad. But I didn't speak up. I didn't say something. And because of that, it happened to other women that I know. And that doesn't feel well. That's a guilt and a shame that I'm going to have, but this is the message that I have to him. I wish you fucking would. Like I told you that first day I read that shit, Manuel, I wish you motherfucking would try to sit here and not own what you did. I wish you would try to sit here and claim any kind of defamation lawsuit. Don't go after them, brother man. Come after me because I got a couple million followers that can let you know what's up, because tell me that it's not the truth.
Yeah.
Tell me that you ain't never touched a woman inappropriately. Say that to me. Somebody who is just as quote unquote well liked as you in the community. Only thing that I'm doing whenever I read, and I told you this, which is why this was so important to me.
Yeah.
When I read those women's stories, it was like you could have taken the some collectivity of my experiences with him over the years and tore out a page and then distributed to each one of those women. Because each one of these women collectively described the behavior that I had personally experienced from him. And not just at that one experience in ADC, and I never told anybody at ADC or within ADC in the establishment. I never did. I don't know what I thought. I was just messed up. Maybe it didn't happen. He didn't mean it, or whatever the case may be. But I've seen him when he gets drunk and when he just goes too far. And that's not the same man as that I know before that.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
I know, and for me, what I can say to that is, from hearing so many of the women's stories, for me growing up in my life, I've seen, especially with men, because don't get me wrong, women can also be predators. But on the topic of men and them using their position to take advantage, a lot of times using that excuse of alcohol to excuse your behavior, that is a way of deflecting from the actual subject. And I realized that he was using that when I was watching his live and kept saying about alcohol. But I was saying, so if...
Who chooses to continue to drink?
Yes.
And if you choose to continue, that's why I said that morning to him, what you're not going to do, this is what you're not going to do. This is what I said. Number one, this is why you didn't come to know the SDF. Number two, what you're not going to do is sit there and deny what happened to these women and then ridicule them or attack them. Yeah. That's what you're not going to do. I don't care what your excuses are. Just because I know that you're a good person, and just because I can forgive you for what you did to me doesn't mean I can speak for the other women. What you need to do is own it, which is why when he got on the line with me, he's like, I talked to my girl Rubia. Rubia was trying to tell me, I need to be honest, that I don't want him to, it's not an excuse, because ultimately you choose to drink. But we also live in a world where, in a culture where his behavior is being literally encouraged.
Yes.
Because on that very same ADC, right, they're sitting there on the microphone at the shows calling for Manuel dos Santos, and where is he? In the hot tub.
Yeah. And for me, I can say is that I want to tell you, and I want to tell every other person that was affected by him, is that it was never your fault. It was never his right to take advantage of any one of you for any reason. Just because you're in a hot tub doesn't give them the right to touch you or any other woman. I could understand if both of you had a consensual decision. But I say is this: any people choosing to have a consensual relationship, whether it be intimate and sexual, take the alcohol out of it. Be like you
But
say,
that's
you
not
know,
reality, dog.
yeah,
Being honest when it comes to Congresses, we know how this is. But that's part of the problem, and that's what I'm saying. He has to own what he did with Dr. Kisomba, and that's the best way I describe it, because you have him as a person, as an individual, right, and then you have this image. Like you have Lindsay and you have Rubia. Like me, myself, I personally
mhm.
believe they're the same person, but people don't know the same things about Lindsay that they would about Rubia. They have a
Yes,
certain image of Dr. Kisomba. He is the partier. He's the funny guy. He's the one that's going to get your Congress and your thing. He's going to be that person that creates that vibe, and people want that. They need that. That's literally what you're promoting. That. Otherwise, why would he have been so successful?
exactly. And I
That's the
think
whole
too,
point.
yeah, and I think too, to your point is also that now that we understand what really has been going on, now we have to also hold these organizers and promoters accountable, because now you're getting the proof to the pudding, and now you have to realize that these people, I guess, who can make you money are really not doing the best thing for our community at all. And yeah, you can call it cancel culture or whatever you want to call it, but if it's more than one person saying the same thing, I believe there is a truth.
I
For
don't
me,
believe in I don't believe in cancel culture. I believe you can only cancel your damn self,
that is
personally.
true. That
That
is absolutely
I
true.
believe fundamentally the only person that can cancel yourself is you, because if you believe that as a human, this is what I told Manuel, dog. If this is true, you got some answers. You got some answers that you need to come up with, and you're going to have to be held accountable for that,
Yes.
period, across the board. You're going to have to be held accountable for what you did, dog, period. I don't care how you feel about it. But how often does that really happen?
And like just like you said, how often does it really happen? Because again, in our scene, it wasn't until really kind of like now. Don't get me wrong. Years ago, we had that situation with Alex De Silva, who was this big time dance
I know
instructor
he
from
is.
California that went through it because a woman spoke up or a few women. And it's like the voices. There's really no difference. What the similarity between you and personally that victim from the past is your voice. And the thing is, you realize your voice made an impact. Your voice right now on this
My
platform.
voice didn't do anything because, like I said, the shameful thing about me was that, and if I'm being personally transparent, and I have to get this off my chest.
Yes.
When I worked for a charter school, I was being sexually harassed by my principal for months. So much to the point that this man, when it came to ADC, when I put in my leave, this man said, "Well, if I let you go, what you gonna give me in return?" I
Mm.
said, "PTO, paid time off." PTO, what you mean?
Yeah.
And then I went, and by the time I came back, he said, "I don't know what you keep making me beg for, Garcia. Why don't you give me that pussy and we won't have these problems no more?" So when
Wow.
I'm taking on an entire system of
Yeah.
these types of things, and then you have these men in these powerful positions inside of the community and just the politics of everything, dog. It's a lot. Like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of women and experiences that that men don't necessarily get to have the experience. But I pose this: go to your wife, go to your mom, go to your sister or your female cousins, and ask them if they've had some kind of similar experience like that. Whether they've been denied a job or whether or not they've had my personality is fairly different. You know what I mean? Or not fairly different, but it's people in the scene tend to be a little bit more liberal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that so many people at this point have come forward about the things that are going on in the scene, it says a lot. And it's not about cancel culture at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
I said, you can only cancel yourself, because just because you are a teacher doesn't mean that you ever stop being a student. And if at the end of the day you believe that you get to a point where you are above reproach, you are above education, you are above being corrected, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You've gotten to a point where you've let your ego and your pride and your fame and your notoriety carry you to a place where you no longer deserve the title and the privilege of the place of where you sit. And that's what I always told Dejan. Don't ever forget where you came from. Don't ever forget the people that helped you. Don't ever forget that as an organizer and a promoter, that all we are is the middlemen. That's my job. My job as an organizer and as a promoter is to take the money basically from the people who are buying passes. I'm not even lying. This is how simple I look at it. I take the money from the people who buy passes. And then from that, I create an experience for them. Right?
That's simplistic as it is, and that's exactly the point.
What it is, right? So what sense would it make for me to take this money from these people and then to create an experience for somebody who ultimately is going to either sexually harass them, treat them like shit, never social dance with them, never come out their room, only come out of their room during workshops and shows, never social dance or never interact with them? That's not the experience I'm being paid for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say is that with you and all of the other women and victims that have spoken, your voices really inspired so many to understand that, our dance culture, we were just honestly brushing past a lot of the shit that was happening because all we wanted to do, a lot of us, was to have fun. But it was people like me saying, hey, we're in a time now, of course, when it's COVID and quarantine, that we're stuck in our house. And maybe this is the time that we take a step back and we understand what's really important. And to realize that, hey, you know what? The shit that's wrong, we need to address it. And for me...
I'm sorry to cut you off, but speaking on the stuff that's wrong, I'm really curious because everybody who knows, even like we said earlier, my first videos that ever went viral were Black Lives Matter. Hey, I'm here for it. But it's a very curious topic. If anybody that's really paying attention to sit here and pay attention to who was loud as fuck when it came time for Black Lives Matter, because they had everybody up their ass about it. Excuse my French, I'm sorry.
No problem.
But it's very curious to sit here and see who was loud as fuck but a couple weeks ago for Black Lives Matter. But it's been crickets as fuck when it came to Manuel dos Santos.
Absolutely.
Or sexual assault, or women in women's empowerment and issues on females and our safety and things like that within the dancing community, when this is not something that's brand new.
It's not.
I've been roofied out of Congress before. I have been roofied and hospitalized. Yeah.
Wow.
That was after a mob party.
Wow.
But that was, and then who is to blame? Like, who do you go for that? You know what I mean? Like, what council do you go to and appeal this to? Am I supposed to sit here and call the popo on you don't somebody? Know? I don't know who it was. Like, but this is the ultimate. It's what's going on inside the scene. But as a promoter and an organizer, it's my job to do my best to sit here and to try to create an environment that is welcoming, open, safe, familial vibe to the people who are going to attend and the people who are going to be here, which is why I'm so selective about the people who are coming down here, which is why, even though I forgave Manuel, I told him dead to his face, why you think I didn't bring you to NOLA SBS?
Yeah. And it's true. What? It's like, like you said, this type of culture has really been going on for a while. And some people are truly naive to it. Some people haven't seen it personally. But some people have heard the experiences and just say, all right, cool. It happened. You can't really do anything about it. And that's unfair. I think it's really important that people have to know is that somebody who's going through an experience, just because they didn't speak up right then and there, doesn't mean the experience didn't happen. You telling us about your story, just like the other women and the other victims, just because they didn't say it happened at that moment, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I'm going to tell you like this. I was sexually abused by one of my brothers as a child. It never crossed my lips until I was an adult. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was damn near 30 before I let what happened cross my lips. But at the end of the day, what benefit do I stand from lying? Please tell me this. Anybody, what benefit do I stand from sitting here telling folks that Manuel dos Santos on ADC, can't remember what year because they're all a blur at this point in time. Anybody who's been there already knows what time of day that is. Yeah. But at the end of the day, literally try to put his face inside my vagina or try to put his fingers inside my vagina. What does that mean when there's some collectivity of experiences whenever I go to congresses and there are parties and that there are guys that sit there and intentionally push themselves on women? Or more to the fact that there are also, on the flip side, playing devil's advocate, there are women who literally throw themselves. And this is just to be fair.
Yes.
Fuck that. This is just to be fair. Because the only thing that pisses me off more than somebody who does and pulls Emmanuel dos Santos more is a female who sits there and lies and exaggerates about what had happened simply because of whatever reason. Because what it does is it invalidates those of us who have valid claims. By you exaggerating what had happened or trying to pull back, and it's not to diminish from an actual assault. Do you know what I mean? It's not to diminish from an actual case of somebody taking advantage. But I'm talking about the ones who completely just manifest this stuff out of thin air.
Yes, because that and because that's the thing is when you have those type of people that create those fallacies, like you said, it invalidates the truth. And many of those
it gives those people on that other side, whatever side you want to put it as, it gives them the opportunity and the license to then look at my fucking case and then to question the validity of what happened to me simply because of whatever your intentions are. And your intentions aren't the same as mine because all I want to do is speak my piece. All I want to do is get this shit off my heart. Do you know how, I'll be real with you, do you know how fucked up it feels to feel like a person of me who cares, who loves, who sees these women like Brianna, who sees all these women, who have met these women in person and know that a part of what happened to you is due in part to the fact that I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that fucks with me. And yeah, I had enough foresight to not bring him or even if you pay attention, I brought Roberto Rosario in 2018, but I didn't bring them back in 2019. Yes. Why? Because I follow my gut. I follow my instinct, and my instinct said no. And then what happens? The stuff comes out about him in that regard. And then my gut tells me when it comes to Manuel, no. Even though you see a human inside of him, no. And then everything happens. But I'm a person I love intently, even through the pain of it all, because I see humanity inside of people. I tend to,
Yeah, I mean, it's
see beyond the mistakes.
Yeah, and for me, I want you and so many other people that have been affected to know is that you have a person like me that does believe you, that does care for you, that does wish I was in that position of being there and to stop that from happening, to let you know that you should never blame yourself.
But that's the thing, dog. Y'all are there.
Yeah.
Y'all are there. You're there in the damn rooms. You're in the damn hotel rooms during the parties when they're sitting there and they're describing what these dudes have done or what these big names in the scene sit here and try to pass off as these fucking pipe dreams that they're happy when they're not. Yeah. That you can have it all, right? You can have the image. You can be in love in the dancing community and everything, but everybody knows what time of day it is. I wish everybody would stop all the bullshit with the pipe dreams. Let's be real with this. If we're gonna sit here and have a conversation, I love the fact that we're having a talk about the ugly side and the dark side of the dancing world, because it doesn't get talked about. These are the things that get joked about in congresses in the hotel rooms. They get joked about and laughed about and stuff like that, but they don't get ever addressed.
Yeah, and the thing is now. Me saying is this, on my platform, that I can have this type of conversation. When I can have this type of conversation with you or someone else about the same subject, and for me, the consequence, I am fine with. I am fine with the same dudes that are listening right now have done the same shit to say, yo, I don't fuck with you. Great, because I don't fuck with you. I really
look what I say, bitch. You could never fuck with me. Stop playing.
Yes, and that's the thing, is that to show them that on this platform that I am here standing with you, standing with all of these women. And my thing is, we can talk about Manuel dos Santos. I've met him before. I've never been in those situations around him, but I believe every woman that has said about him. And I saw a lot through that stupid ass live video he did. He made himself look fucking stupid.
I missed the video, but I heard about it, and then I've heard that since then that he has made threats.
Yes,
he has made threats against these women, and I here's the thing, because I don't want on my conscience that something bad happens to a person. So, like I tell my students in class, you're bullying, right? Like, I want you to imagine that child that you're sitting there playing with, or you're bullying, or you're saying something about, I want you to imagine that child goes home that day, and as tragic as this is, they commit suicide. Do you want on your spirit that this person harm themselves at any way, shape, form, or fashion due to you? I don't want to be responsible for the person, or being the person that literally looks at this human being. I don't want to tear anyone down, but there will be accountability. Because at the end, what you're not going to do, tell you what, I don't want anybody to, this is not an attack against Manuel, but I want him to understand fully well and clearly where I'm coming from when I come from this. And anybody who knows me know where I'm going with this. Defamation falls into two types of torts. You have libel and you have slander. You have libel, which is more of the written, where you have slander, which is more of the spoken. So what you're talking about, the main component of a defamation lawsuit, which is what he has threatened against these women, is the component to prove that it's not true. Do you really want to get into, and this is for him, does Manuel really want to get into the nitty-gritty of whether or not these cases can be substantiated? Because I can tell you from a lawyer's perspective, I would be telling him, boy, you are out your rabbit-ass motherfucking mind. If you think that you are about to sit here and disprove what these women have said, because the evidence that was there from case to case to case can be substantiated by video evidence, can be substantiated by witness evidence, can be substantiated by multiple different occurrences for people who had no connection. I have never talked to any of these women. So again, tell me, how is it that I recognize everything that these women are saying, even though I don't talk to them on a regular basis? I've never talked to them about Manuel dos Santos. So how do I recognize these situations? Because I've been the victim of them.
Absolutely.
And that's the truth. But what, like I said, what you're not going to do is attack these women, because unlike these women, this is why he brought me on that live. Because I think that he wanted me to be looked at in a certain degree as his ally. Like, first of all, I ain't an ally at all. I'm an accomplice to justice, and bitch, I could never stand on the wrong side of it. I could never. I don't care if I love you. I'm going to love you from over there.
Yes.
You understand? Because I've drawn my line in the sand a long ass time ago. And that's not just within dancing. That's in what I'm willing to live with when my head hits the pillow at the end of the fucking night. I don't really care. At the end of the day, that's what matters to me. What matters to me is what I'm willing to live with. And what keeps me up, like I said, is the fact that I thought that it was just me. And maybe a piece of me knew that it wasn't just me, but either I lacked the courage, or I thought it would remedy itself, or whatever the reason was that I didn't speak. But I knew that it wasn't something that I could ever write. I knew that it was something that I would have to
say.
I would have to say it, because you ain't going. First of all, anybody who's about to sit here and watch this whole fucking live, dog, anybody about to sit here and be like, first of all, nah.
Motherfucker.
Nah. Rubia, who sits in her car and goes ham and sits here and screams at her phone, ain't about to sit here and type no novel ass message on what the fuck just happened here. This bitch about to let it rip.
No, and it's true, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I love you for, and I appreciate you because for the viewers to know, like me and you talk not just on a live, we talk
All the
outside of
time.
that. And the fact is that I understand where you're coming from. I've have friends that have been through sexual assaults. I've had to have those conversations with them. But my most important thing is with anybody that's been through any type of assault or abuse is I'm not here to talk. I am here to listen. And that's what I think more and more is that as people, we have to just listen to people's experiences. Listening to how you're dealing with that trauma and realizing that you can, like you said, you at one point you just wanted to write a post about it.
Look at how many times I told you. I think I did like 6 drafts, and I was like, man, fuck.
and then for you now to come up and to come on this platform, I take this as very sacred. I don't take this as a joke. I take this is your real life. And as a person, I'm you and Brianna and many other victims, I'm here for you. I'm saddened that a person can do that and put you in that position. But I think going forward that, like you said, and it was funny how you said it. Now, after all this is happening, how many men specifically are real nervous?
Oh, what I told you the other day, boy, I know assholes are clenched in the scene right now. They are clenched, like they just at me, almost like double dutch, like, do I go?
This is the
time.
time. This is the time. And I'm so thankful. And I'll tell you this is a perfect way now of transitioning because you've used your voice so much, even through social media and through now and the stuff you're so passionate about. And you even saying at one point that it was so hard for you to sleep. And I've seen now you've taken that passion and you've really put it towards this initiative of the Hard Rock 3. And towards the conclusion of this discussion, I really want you to really expound on what this initiative is all about in the story.
I need all of my dancing family to listen to this part very carefully because it goes into what would be New Orleans Salsa Bachata Festival, which was supposed to be taking place this weekend coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So last October, they were building a building, which is now across the street from me. This is where I'm at because this is the cause that I'm on. They were building a building called the Hard Rock, right? So we had already signed our contract for 2020. We're going to be at the Marriott down the street for New Orleans 2020. But those who attended 2019, if you remember on Thursday, there was a pipe that had burst in the ceiling and there was water like gushing into the registration desk on Thursday night last year in NOLA SPF 2019, right? And that's August, but October, during the time that we have our festival in August down the street, they're building this building called the Hard Rock. It's going to be a Hard Rock hotel. In October, the building collapses. There's 3 men that get killed. And to this day, I'm still sitting across the building from last October, and they still have 2 of the men inside of the building. And one of the men is exposed publicly on the side of the building.
Oh, my Lord.
So this is January, right? I'm starting to consider my artists because we normally announce our artists the week of Mardi Gras. Like Mardi Gras, we're like Mardi Gras Mambo, this is our artist and things like that. So January 20th, the tarp that they put to cover Quinyon Wimberly, the African American who's in the building, black guys in the building, the tarp that they put to cover him blew off. And one of my students in class mentions and says, "Hey, Miss G, did you hear about that tarp that blew off the Hard Rock?" And I'm like, the building collapsed like 3 months ago, dog. Like, who cares about a tarp? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand the issue. But my student is like, "Nah, Miss G, it's got that black man behind it." Just like that. And I'm thinking, this little girl doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. But then I look into it and it's true. They left this man at that point in the building for 3 months. It's about to be 10 months. It's going on a year. And this man, 2 men actually, Jose Ponce Areola and Quinyon Wimberly are still inside the building. And the man, as I looked into this project, there was a man that looked in and that worked on the building and tried to whistleblow on what happened. And within 48 hours, he was arrested and deported. So with my connections with the Latino community, when I'm finding all this out in January, I'm like, wait, what do you mean the floors were wrong? There's a black guy in the building. There's a Mexican guy in the building. They deported the guy from Honduras. Like, what in the hell is going on? All these things. And then I decided to look into permits and things like that. And that's why I mentioned 2019. Because I decided to look into the permits. And then I found out that I thought about the fact that our pipes during NOLA SVF in 2019 had burst, right? So while I'm looking into the safety inspections and things like that for this building, for the Hard Rock, I decided to look into the building for the place where we held our event last year. And they hadn't been inspected this century. So when that hit me, it's like right before Mardi Gras. And I'm supposed to be announcing artists. I can't even bring myself to reach out to artists, to try to negotiate contracts, to try to do anything, because what if that pipe bursting was a building collapse and all 3,000 of my family is now being left in a building for 10 months? That's literally, I couldn't separate the two. So it was extremely difficult for me to try to plan for NOLA SVF, if I'm going to be transparent. It was extremely difficult, even back as far as January, February timeframe, for me to plan ahead for August, and me thinking to myself, like, future on down the line, I might have considered the Hard Rock. It's going to be a brand new building. It's a Hard Rock, et cetera, as a home for NOLA SVF. What happens if I did that and I brought all my family and these people like Guy Lovell and Watson and Banga and you and Edwin and all them, and we're all out there cutting up like we usually do, and then the building collapses beneath our feet? Then what? You know, because of the Hard Rock experience, it changed everything. So I found it difficult, and then look at God. COVID-19 comes. So we postponed it. So NOLA SVF is for August 13th through the 16th in 2021, still being housed at the Marriott. But it was extremely difficult, honestly, because I'm still truly perplexed by what's happening here in New Orleans. Like the fact that I'm sitting across the street still from the Hard Rock at 1031 Canal, and there's still a black man and a Mexican man inside the building for public display is still beyond me.
Yeah.
But that, when it comes down to, and that's a lot of explaining to a couple of, some of my artists weren't going to be coming back on 2020 because of what had happened and transpired between myself and my artistic director at the end of last year, because it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And 2020 wasn't going to be the same. And I understand cliques. I understand histories. I understand past. But what I miss, honestly, I'm not even lying. I miss the classical era of congresses and things like that. And it wasn't it was sensual.
Yeah.
But it wasn't sexual. Like it was sexual, but that was like the little thought moment.
Yeah.
The consensual thought moments. You know what I mean? But it's like I miss the classicness of it all, and it only seems that we ever revere the classics whenever people pass on.
Yeah, we only
like Choco, David Melendez, the likes. It's like we only seem to revere or respect them as just like a tradition, and we don't pay attention enough to the histories and myself included. But
no, and everything you're saying is right. I mean, if it wasn't for you talking about the Hard Rock Day, I would have never have known. If it wasn't for you talking about your experiences, I would be naive to your experience. If it wasn't you speaking right now about the times of yesteryear or the past, I wouldn't have thought about it right now. But it makes me think, because we have so many people that talk about, and like, as they say, the legends that talk about how the past was. And the past was great. What we realized too was that as we got and we moved towards a new generation, there were things that weren't being discussed.
Mm.
There were issues that weren't being addressed. And I think as we are growing and growing, and myself having a platform like this, having people like you on, soon having Grisel on, or having Thomas on, and having these people that really we admired as we were in the scene, it's important to know your voices. It's important to know your experiences, your concerns, but also the stuff that made you happy. It's important to know the person beyond the stage, you know, and
I will say, listen, like to even be like you're sitting here, like, the fact that I'm sitting here in the same category as like Griselle, I'm just like, what? Stop.
I'm gonna
But
say
it's
that.
not on a. Here's the thing, it's not on a talent.
Yeah.
Like I cannot even put a damn sparkle on Griselle's heel. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't even begin to even like shine a sparkle on sis because she's one of my idols, and that's the part that it honestly it blows my mind because like I look at certain people within the dancing community and you hold them up to such a high regard because of their talent. But I'm gonna tell you this, like I hate to keep saying it over and
No,
over,
it's
but
okay.
but I'm gonna tell you like this. Because I live within those moments as an organizer and a promoter of what I see, what I feel, the most distinctive memories that I have within the dance community are not, oh my God, that was a dope ass flip that they just did with the dip and the trick and he went underneath and she went
Yeah.
between the legs. It was not that, it was not. It was not even when Wendy and Rodrigo are teaching me tango for the first time in the Orlando Salsa Congress. Hey, like it wasn't
Yeah.
even though I remember those distinctive moments, it was moments like I felt whenever I was on ADC.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt, even though I knew nobody on the boat, that my first time that I went, I knew nobody besides Edwin, but Edwin was working, so I was by myself. I
Yeah.
knew nobody, but I was family all at the same time. Like, I miss those particular parts because those are the things that got me into dancing. And I think that what has truly transpired within the dancing community is so many people have gotten so far beyond the notoriety of it that they really think that because they're a headliner at a Congress that they really think they're doing shit outside of a Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside of the dancing world,
They don't know you. They don't know you. I gotta be real.
what are you really contributing to society outside of the 3 minutes and 30 seconds? And it's not to diminish your impact on what you're doing because you're inspiring millions. But the whole point of, just like when I had a platform and I went viral for the first time, what am I going to do from it? Am I going to use it or am I going to walk away from it? It's almost becomes a certain a power, but it's a responsibility. And it comes down to the integrity and the morality of who that is. But then it also comes down to what people are willing to tolerate. Because power concedes nothing without a demand. If you're willing to sit here and tolerate somebody who has a certain type of behavior, then it'll be allowed to extend and continue for as long as it is until people say otherwise. Other people, these days, people have said otherwise when it came to certain behaviors. And I have heard a couple of things about some other people in the dancing scene that I'm just like,
yeah, I know. And that's the thing that for me, especially on this platform, I'm here to talk to people and share their experience and share their experience to the masses. But most of all, I'm also here to discuss those tough topics that people don't know how to discuss or are afraid to talk about. Because for me, being in the scene since '96, I knew I was going to dance, but I knew I'd have to do something outside of that. And like you said, as a dancer, once you step off that stage, what are you doing to benefit the community or the people? And for me, being a videographer, that I can have visuals that can be shown long after I'm here, long after I'm gone, or having this type of platform and being able to share your experience and your story that 50 years from now, a woman
it's
can
still
watch.
gonna be the same.
Yes, it's going to be the same, but if someone's going to watch this and learn from it.
I'll tell you this, because I'm a history geek, and history is my forte. Everybody knows that because I'm such a nerd. The Greeks were obsessed with legends, myths. It's all in it. The Greek myths, Zeus, Hera, all of the Greek gods and things like that. They're obsessed with legends. Why? Because they're obsessed with they want to be immortal, but not immortal in the sense that they want to live forever. They want to know, what is your legacy? What is it that you're going to leave on this world, but like after you're gone? Or what somebody who was very close to me used to call exist beyond existence. That sometimes the path that you lead in your life can create a ripple, which could ultimately turn into a wave, which could turn into a tide that could potentially change the course of somebody's life.
Mhm.
Like, and or not just somebody's life. That's the hope, that it can potentially change the course of at least one person's life, but that your actions, and there's some collectivity of them, could potentially change the course of history. It's leaving a legacy. How are you going to exist beyond your existence? And some people, and it's fine, are perfectly content with just living. They have no desire beyond living outside of their mortal years. But this is what the Greeks were constantly obsessed with. This is literally Achilles and like, who sit here and sacrifice themselves, not because they think they're going to live in immortality, only in the sense that you leave behind something that is worth noting.
Yeah.
And I think that in the dance community, are people, you live inside that 4 minutes, but at the end of the day, are you leaving something that these people can take away with, that they can feel, and that their life is being altered?
Yeah, and I say this to be honest with you. I believe, even though some people might say it'll still be the same, I tell you this, is that there are things that are changing. And the voices, in my opinion, are being heard. Even though they might not be heard loud enough, these voices are being heard. You know?
I'm gonna tell you like this, and I haven't told Bree this, but I wanted this to make a very clear statement, that when it comes down to women in the community, it's one of the very powerful reasons Kyla was on here.
Mm-hmm.
Kyla, it's one of the reasons that me, Kyla, and Tina got together and did the women's empowerment, because Douglas had actually brought us all together in Detroit to do a mile in our shoes, his event that was all women. And we got together and we all shared our experiences. And I literally left Detroit and I had a dream of the quote from Frederick Douglass that I said during our female empowerment piece.
Mm.
I had a dream of him, and he wrote that quote. Frederick Douglass did, the abolitionist, wrote that quote during the women's suffragist movement. And he said that all good causes are mutually beneficial. And the benefits accruing from this movement for the equal rights of women will not be confined and limited to women only. They will be shared by every effort to promote the progress and welfare of mankind everywhere and in all ages. They're an example and a prophecy of what can be accomplished against strongly opposing forces, against time-hallowed abuses, against deeply entrenched error, against worldwide injustice, and it literally, it's that. It's what you are willing to, not just what you're willing to live with at the end of the night, dog, but at the end of the day, what are you willing, when you go into the ground, what you leaving?
Yeah.
Like, exists beyond existence. Are you sitting here? Are you going to what did John Lewis, the late John Lewis, make good trouble? Find a way to get in the way. Change is happening. It's coming. It's occurring. It's here. It's just a matter of you're not going to get, like I tell everybody and I tell my students, you ain't gonna be heard by you're not going to be understood by everybody, but you need to be heard anyways, because you need to do that for your own peace, like I did. And thank you for giving me the opportunity today to speak my piece, because that's what this was. I feel like I just came from a confession. I ain't lying.
No, and I tell you this, man. I thank you so much for this discussion. It's not even an interview. It's just for me. Like I tell a lot of my guests, it's a therapy session. Because
I really just feel like I came clean up off the couch. I ain't lying. Like,
yeah, and to be honest, not even just Rubia, but Lindsay, I do care for you as a person, as a friend, and for you to share your experience. I know there is someone out there, including me, that has learned that my voice is more powerful than I think, because it is,
That's why I told you what always tripped me out is when people sit there and say things about like I am like Rubia Garcia or I'm unapproachable or oh my God, like anybody who treats me like a quote unquote celebrity, I'm just like, but I'm so normal. I'm literally just like the teacher that's like in the corner, like I'm so regular, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't think because I don't talk to you or because I have resting bitch face. So don't think that because
she does. She does.
Dog, dead ass. Because in any other setting, I'm a plump fool. Like once you get me to open my mouth, it's over. Like you won't get me to shut up. But I because I love people, but I try to respect people's boundaries. You might not like my cursing. You might not like my twerking for no damn reason whatsoever. You might not like, you might not like some of those things. So I try to gauge my surroundings accordingly. But I'm grateful to have the opportunity, especially to talk to my dancing family, because on my social media, it gets really, really blurred out with the hard rock and then my causes or any of the projects that I'm working on outside of dancing, and it gets really hard and it gets really bled out, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to make a post about Manuel, because I knew that it was going to get lost in the translation.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do a video about it because I have millions of followers that don't know who he is, that don't understand the dancing community, that don't operate this. So I felt like it would be an irresponsibility if I actually did, not because I don't want him to be held accountable, but because these people also don't know our community. Yes. These people don't know and don't respect anything out. They don't know anything about our world. They know about his actions and things his actions, not him, but the actions. But yes. They don't know, they don't understand, and they won't be able to speak from the same. And I just didn't want it to just get lost in the white noise of my following. I wanted it to reach the people that needed to know, because if you were ever at any point if you wanted to know where Rubia stood on it, now you know.
It's signed, sealed, and motherfucking delivered.
Now you know. Because at the end of the day, people who know me fair, firm, and consistent, even when I fuck up. And when I fuck up, hold me to it. That's a part of the game. That's a part of how this shit goes. That's a part of it. And that's what I tried to do with even him. When I said, what you're not going to do is deny these women their truth, because if you fucking did it, bro, you're going to have to own up to it, because there ain't no way around it. Because if you sitting here coming after them, bitch, you're going to have to come after me first.
Yeah.
And you not only do you not want the smoke, bitch, you don't even fucking want the fumes.
That's a fact. I mean, and it's you, it's people like you, not even just women, but people like you, that just when you stand fair, firm, and consistent, and you stand by your truth, no evil can prevail.
You stand by what you're willing to live with when your head hits the pillow at night. Is it good? Yes. Leave it alone. If not, be patient and find the right course of action. And I'm not even trying to sit here and say that my life has taken me on the correct course, that I have treated everybody perfectly, that I have made all the best decisions, that I have not hurt people, that I have not made the wrong things and the wrong choices. It's not that, but that's a part of life. That is a part of growing up. That's a part of the process, is being able to look at yourself. Look at how other people are seeing and listen whenever they're giving you information and feedback, and try not to take it so personal, but being able to personally self-reflect.
Yeah.
Are you intellectually mature enough to be like, this shit is unhealthy? Like me drinking all like this, I don't need and wait. You hope that I'm gonna be real dog hold on. You have people that's in this scene, honest to God, that they are living it up, and they got groupies that are in their midst just bucking their head up and being like, dog, you killing the game, killing the game, killing the game. And these are the only motherfuckers that they're listening to, dog.
Yes.
They're not listening to people with old school logic and fucking reason. I'm not even lying. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation and I've literally just been like,
I can't. Like,
do you fucking hear yourself right now? Like,
and mind you're talking about the old school mentality, and I'm looking right now on the video, and you got Eddie Torres even watching this.
Oh.
And that's what I'm saying is like when you talk about old school and the past and everything, but he is the past, present, and the future. We are learning from him, but we also too have to teach our community how to better themselves.
Let me tell you this. There's an old thing you ever heard of the book Utopia? It's really the old one. It says, if you suffer your people to be ill-educated and their manners corrupted from infancy, then what is to be concluded that you first create these criminals or thieves and then punish them? You cannot sit here and deny a populace of people, no matter how we were talking in education before, this also transfers and is completely bleeds and transparent within the dance community. You cannot sit here and deny them an opportunity at education. So when you go to Congresses, we have to make sure that we include these historical lessons. We have to make sure that we're including these people like Eddie Torres, or the people with the experience, the veterans who are not just going to go out there and teach Pachanga and teach the steps and like, are you going to sit here and give me your experience, man? Tell me your story, because we don't need to be sitting here memorializing you when, God forbid, you've passed on, because we need statements. We need people, men, women who have been in the community to be highlighted, because as a historian, I be geeked.
Yeah.
Like, teach me, because not only are you talking about somebody who, I'm new in the dancing scene, that I've only been doing this 15, 20 years. You know what I mean? But I'm also white. Super white, like I'm Irish Italian white. So it's like I didn't grow up listening to this music. I didn't grow up listening to the culture. I want to respect the culture. I don't want to appropriate. I want to appreciate the culture. But it's very difficult whenever it seems like the only time I want to be appreciated is when somebody wants to sit here and do a body roll in the middle of some traditional bachata, you know,
or dip you.
Yeah, like you trying to do a whole head roll in some traditional bachata. Can we please stop?
Thank
you. The madness of it all. Like
it's true. And everything we talking about, everything we talked about is facts. It's either you can say you don't agree, but there is one of your friends that surely agrees, and you've seen it.
Like I told you, in history, Martin Luther King wasn't liked by everybody, but given the time, it's understandable. Things are very timed. Okay, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Jesus? No. Nobody's going to be liked by everybody. I can walk outside and be like, you know what? The sun is, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful. The sky is the most beautiful shade of blue. And somebody's going to come out and say, no, it's actually got some kind of like royalish lavender, like some dumb stuff, because it's your perspective. It's the way that you view the world. But what matters today in the world is the fact that in my opinion, there's a lack of intellectual maturity and tolerance for other people's opinions. Oh, so you like Trump? Bitch, deleted. What? Okay, I am not, anybody who knows me knows I would no. I wouldn't piss on Donald Trump if he was on fire. Do you understand? Like, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. However, as long as there is a person who can sit there and logically argue their stance with logic and respect, I feel like the least that I could do is tolerate their opinion. Now, when we start talking about and completely divulging from reality, and you're talking outside of facts and things that make no sense, and you want to distract and deflect and everything like that, I can't do all of that. I'm not going to sit here and entertain all of that. But
yeah, and that's it. I love that, again, you just stand by your truth, because you know that, like you said, you can put your head on your pillow, and that's that. And honestly, like, to be honest with you, to this being the first episode of the second season, and to have you on, it means so much because you not only taught me so much, but I've learned so much more about you. But we see so much eye to eye on things, but we realize too that what you're talking about, you can see through the comments that so many people are learning, so many people are appreciative, so many people really, they care.
I don't believe and people try to. I have people that work on my page for me sometimes because I cannot possibly manage everything myself. And when they start reading through the comments, they're just like, I don't know why don't you block this person? And I'm like, you know why? Because that's growth. Because an intellectually immature person will sit there and say, this person holds a different view than me, therefore I must block them and remove them from my circle. Social media is already doing a fantastic job, D, of making sure that you are surrounding yourself by a yes world, by this participation trophy. Yes, you can have your way, even though you ain't as successful as everybody else, because we don't want to hurt your feelings type fucking mentality. Mm-hmm. The fact that if you start posting something, if somebody says something that you don't like, what does the vast majority of people do? Block, unfollow. So what does that ultimately do? From when you're scrolling on social media to where it says the people you may know. Mm-hmm. Social media is slowly but surely, in my opinion, creating a world where it literally it's an echo chamber of like-minded voices. So when somebody comes to you that holds an opinion that is somewhat even slightly different than yours, you go off on a fucking tangent because you're so not used to creating that ability to consider thoughts that are outside of your own viewpoint. As it ever dawned on people that, Jesus Christ, it sounds crazy, but they may be right. And I'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at how many times that something sounds really outlandish, even though it defies everything you've ever known to be true. And it's you've known it to be true, but it turns out to be untrue. Things like racism. You see people nowadays, I've seen it because I've traveled across the country visiting these protests, of people being like, damn, I never understood why I was always afraid of Black people until I thought back to my childhood experiences and being like, well, my daddy used to always say, we don't talk to Black and brown people. People are trying to undo socially conditioned mentalities inside of their head every single day. But how do you do that when you've created a voice in an echo chamber of only people who think like you? That's why I don't block people. It's why you have to be like a troll. You have to be threatening my kids. You got to be doing the absolute most.
Yeah, I mean,
even if you say stuff about me that's true but bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never went to law school. People have taken money. I've taken money for people to go for law school, and I never went to law school. It looks bad, right? They wouldn't see the money that's still sitting in the account, but when they post stuff, it's true. Yeah. It's true. I did take money on like GoFundMes and stuff to go to law school, and I took the LSAT twice, and I fucking failed the shit. And it wasn't easy for me to admit to millions of people that, as smart as y'all think I am, my dumb ass did not pass that bitch. But it's the truth. But also the money that I didn't use is still sitting there. But those things they don't put me. It would be easy for me to block those people, to delete those comments, because it's very hurtful. Not because I didn't try, but because I tried and I failed. Do you know what it's like to fail in front of millions?
Yeah.
You know, but even if it's not positive, I believe that there is certain power within that transparency of it all, because if I did it, I did it. But if I didn't, I didn't. And I've always been that way, fair, firm, and consistent. And the best piece of advice that I ever gave my students, ever, and I don't think I've ever told you this, dog, there ain't no bunk beds in a casket. The only thing you got to fucking live with at the end of the day is your own motherfucking conscience. So at the end, the only thing you got to deal with is what you got to deal with. Ain't nobody gonna be in that bitch with you.
Yes. Oh my God. That I'm taking that with me to the motherfucking grave. And if
That's
you
my
did,
students.
and even though I live in motherfucking New York, I told my wife I'm being buried in motherfucking New Orleans. Because y'all motherfuckers know how to have a goddamn celebration. You know,
See,
and,
we
and
just have a different vibe down here in New Orleans, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted NOLA SBF to be what it was, and I wanted to go into politics, and I wanted to be able to be a part of NOLA SBF, but leave it to people to leave it to the community, to leave it to itself. It was never something that I really wanted to own for myself, and I mean that honestly, because it was never mine.
yeah,
But am I protective of it? You fucking well right. Am I willing to do anything and everything in order to make sure that it's protected? Yeah,
yeah,
because from what I've been able to see when it comes down to my question and what I've been asking myself, is it good for the community? My answer has been yes. So
yeah,
up until the answer is no, I'm going to continue on with going about it and doing what I feel is best for my city, for my community, for my family.
yeah.
For my family here, for my family you. I reached out to you when everything happened. I needed somebody to talk to. I needed somebody to let all this shit out on. I needed,
Yes.
more importantly, I felt like I owed it to my family. I
Mhm.
owed it to my dancing community because with NOLA SBF, Dejan was always the face. You know what I mean? I was the very silent person that really kind of sat in the back, that just kind of, because I had two kids, I'm just gonna sit
Yeah,
here and I'm not about to travel. I'm not doing the flips and shit. I'm not gonna be teaching. I can't do that. I'm a single mom of two kids and I'm a teacher. You know, I can't be traveling like that and doing those things. And my dreams just changed. I wanted to have a place. I wanted to to bring the experiences, the positive experiences that I had in Congresses and my family. I wanted to bring my family to New Orleans. I
yeah,
wanted my family to see what New Orleans had. But when the hard rock stuff had happened, I was like, damn, how do I even feel? And I'm about to go into thousands of dollars in debts behind this. But I was like, how do I feel really bringing my family down here if I can't guarantee their safety? And this was before COVID-19.
hmm
I didn't need COVID-19 to tell me that, because you could even ask Watson. Watson came down last year. Had I reached out to any of my artists for 2019 in order to sit here and set up 2020? And the answer is no. And the truth of the matter is, and I owe them the explanation, that that's what it came down to. It's like, yes, 2020 was going on, but I'd be I'd be lying, dog. I'd be lying if I did not say that my heart was at such a crossroads, because how do I sit here and bring my family here if I feel like I can't guarantee their safety in these buildings?
yeah,
Like it begs the question of what events am I attending where things like this aren't being, and not just the building permits, but what events am I attending where these promoters are sitting here and hiring bring these people out just because of their name and not because of their true reputation?
yeah. And then you again, I would say is that you're doing your community and your community in New Orleans and your community as a dance
What
community.
is it? The guy, well, let's get popping for 2020. I want that food. Facts.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, man. I
Yo,
mean,
let me tell you, I can show y'all the hotel for 2020. It was the Marriott. They just had a brand new rooftop. It's why we didn't go there. We went to the Crown Plaza last year instead of going to the Marriott.
there we
The
are.
Marriott had like 30-foot ceilings, over 40,000. I could have like 10 different, the Kisoma room. Matter of fact, I could have a Kisoma and a Zouk room. And the Zouk room by itself wouldn't be less than 6,000 square feet. So when I was like, 2020
Yeah.
about to be popping.
Oh yes.
I was like a dance hall room, Kisomba, Zouk room. Like I was about to sensual, traditional. We was about to break it down. And then it was just like everything was happening. But this is what I know. What I know is we're about a week away from getting Quignon out of the Hard Rock.
hmm
So Quignon's coming home. We're going to lay him to rest. And then I'm going to get Jose out.
Yeah.
Bring him home. Then I'm going to nail the asses of every single person that was involved in this to the wall here in New Orleans. Once that happens, I have to take all that, dog, and I have to make sure that everything that our workers and that our people here in my city is good. I have to do that. And I feel like COVID-19, look at God. That's all I kept saying was, I didn't know what I was going to do with COVID-19 because it came down to my heart. Like, am I going to bring these people out here and not know that I can guarantee their safety? Because the fucking Crown Plaza hadn't been inspected this century. Like, how am I going to? Yeah, I just, not the one that we were going to, but the one that we had already been at where the pipe burst. I was like, that whole weekend could have gone a completely different way. And everything, not just financially, but the weight of being like, I don't know, dog.
Yeah, but everything, again, it happens for a reason. And I know for a fact 2021's NOLA SPF is going to be amazing. If I can help in any capacity, I will be.
You're going to be there. We already know this is going to be lit.
Yes.
When I say it's going to be lit, I'm talking about I'm thinking about going for an entire week. I'm not even lying because you know how we do in New Orleans. Like we can have crawfish boils for days. And and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't even scratch a itch. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
I thought, I'm not even joking, dog. I have been trying to pull Mardi Gras World for years. Mm-hmm. For years. Do you know how absolutely fucking epic?
Oh, I know because people who've been in New Orleans know that atmosphere. I just say this, man. If you're a drinker, you ain't gonna last but a week. You're gonna party, but you're gonna burn out sooner or later.
First of all, you ain't gonna last one hand grenade. That's number one. You're not gonna make it past one visit to Tropical Isle.
Lord, don't start with them now. You know, but I'm
about to bring up some flashbacks and memories of people because they'll be like, hand grenade.
And to be honest, like, and I could just think about it, like, man, New Orleans holds a special place in my heart. You, as a resident of New Orleans, very special to me because I've seen what you've done for this community and what you're going to keep doing for this community. Not just the dance community, but the people that have been affected by these corporations. And you really do care. You're willing to fight the government that you live with to stand by your truth. And
they're going to be pissed as hell. You the first person that knows this, but they're going to be pissed as hell when those billboards go up next week.
Well, you heard it here first. So
they're going to be mad as hell when them billboards start popping up around the city next week.
Man, but Lindsay, everybody wants to say Rubia, but Lindsay, man, I'm so proud of you. I wish
Ray said NOLA is ADC on land.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yo, and then last year, the fact that the location was dope because we were on Bourbon Street. We had the balcony. Like, it was great, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, we had, like, those struggles and things like that. But this is what I know. When people come down for me, and I'm not going to lie, 2020 was going to be difficult for me because it was going to be without Dejan.
Yeah.
And Dejan, I don't care. I love this kid. I don't care if he's arrogant. I don't care if he's an asshole. I don't care. I love this kid because at the end, this is a person that I met as a young man. Mm-hmm. Who honestly, I saw myself in him in the sense of when I met Dejan was where I was when Katrina happened. Mm-hmm. Hungry, thirsty, talented beyond measure, and can really kill the game.
Yeah.
Like can really kill the game. And he did. Like in the brief, short period of time that Dejan had started dancing, he did things that I couldn't have done in my absolute wildest dreams. And 2020 was going to be different because of what had happened and transpired in 2019 and things and how things had gone down. But beyond that, Dejan does amazing things in the city as far as Tropic Vibe, as far as his team. But this ultimately goes down. This is the ultimate test in your character as a leader within the community. The same question. Is it good for the community?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Put your pride aside. So, for instance, it's no secret to anybody who knows or anything like that. We've made it a point. Dejan is no longer affiliated with NOLA SBF. For those who are artists and things like that, you were in the chats whenever I was removed from the chats and he renamed it NOLA Salsa Congress, even though I'm the owner of New Orleans Salsa Bachata Festival. You were the ones, you were there, you saw the transition, you saw the video that he posted and whatnot. But at the end of the day, is it good for the scene? Our two congresses, him doing his own and myself doing my own, is that good for the scene? Nah, not necessarily. But at the end of the day, even though we had fallen out, when it came to Dejan and Tropic Vibe, he's more talented than me. He has the drive. Chloe is phenomenal. Like Chloe is amazing. She's an amazing person, an amazing human. So regardless of what has transpired between myself and this person as an individual, does not mean it on a business level, does not mean that as a person who cares about the community, can I sit here and say that this person is great for the scene? Absolutely. Because he's doing what I'm not. He's building it. He's going around and he's traveling. He's pushing. He's teaching lessons. He's building teams. He's building dancers. He's putting in the work and doing the stuff that even I'm not doing. I'm running the Congress, but he's putting in the work, which is like, that's what I always told him. Man, you'd be crazy to go anywhere else in the country because right now this is it because it's not for me because my dreams have just changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I ultimately it came down to being to NOLA SBF or the where we wanted to go and where I see the scene. Mary Angel and Derek are still out here doing the damn thing. Sergio's out here. Shay's out here. Josh is out here. Niall's out here. Boosie's out here. There's a plethora of people that are in the scene that are still contributing. I want to say even Bianca might still be teaching. I'm with everything in COVID-19 is so hard, but even Bianca for all those months, and you know Bianca San Martin, like she literally, sis would never know this. But even though her and I haven't necessarily saw eye to eye in years, anybody that ever asked, I had it up on the NOLA SBF website, anybody that ever asked about NOLA events, I would always push to NOLA Flow because that takes a lot of work for her to compile all of those things. And that's regardless of, it goes down to who you are as a leader.
Yes.
Is it always got to be about you? If you're sitting here saying that no, it's not about you all the time. It's about, I can sit here and be like, because me and Bianca don't necessarily have the best of history. I can sit here and be spiteful and say because me and her don't have the best of history that I'm not going to sit here and push people to her page, even though her page is resourceful. But I wouldn't do that because why? That's not good for the scene. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. If there are people that are coming to New Orleans and want to know about New Orleans events and I don't have that information, but somebody, even though I don't have the best of history with them, somebody else has that information.
Give that up.
Give that information up. For Dejan, I'm not teaching, or Mary Angel and Derek, I'm not teaching. But even though we have histories, I'm not teaching, but bam, these are the people that I give you. If it came down to it, but how many people, honest to God, are willing to put their pride and their ego to the side? And how many people, honest to God, would sit here and be like, damn, Rubia really thinks like this? All the time. If you ask Dejan or ask anybody that works with me on it, ask anybody who was on the NOLA SBF committee when it came down to it, this is my basic bottom line logic. It comes down to the community, and that means that what you're doing serves a purpose that's greater than yourselves. But it does that mean that people can sit here and honestly be able to do that?
Yeah, and I think again we're gonna find out sooner than later that a lot of people are really gonna be inspired by what you're saying, what we're talking about, and they're gonna be putting their words into actions. And for me, like I told you, I'm here to support you and whatever you do. Whether it be the Hard Rock 3 initiative, whether it be the NOLA SBF, whether it be the Rubia Garcia social page. And, I'm here for you as a person, a friend, and I just want to see you succeed. And honestly, I just thank you so much again for. Oh, that's the German chef.
That's justice.
Yes, that's justice. And to be honest, I want everybody here on this platform to know is that having you on tonight, it really has made my week already, because it gives me that energy and gives me that boost to know that these next interviews it's going to inspire
August is
someone.
going to be lit.
I'm already like, I'm just like, I feel so warm. Like my heart is warm. And, I definitely thank you so much for talking to me and talking to the audience tonight, because this wasn't really an interview. It was just like, we're just a vibe session.
Like, what did I tell you? This is just going to be like us just this is us FaceTiming like we normally do, but everybody else is in on the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And, you realize too is that a lot of our same dance people that we've seen in congresses and festivals were on here tonight. And they know, they see us standing by our truth, and they know that even on this platform, just when we come back into dancing, I'm the same person with the same energy.
What I said, it ain't changed me. It might change you though.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep the same energy when I see you, because again, I want to do what's right for this scene. And just because other people don't want to, I'm not them. And I've been doing this a long time, almost going on 30 years. Like, it's crazy to think about that. Like 5 years is 30 years. But like, I'm gonna be. I'm telling you, I promise you that I want to be one of those people that people can say 20 years from now, like, this guy had a platform that he put people like you on and put others and gave them an opportunity just to speak. Because this is a platform without bias or judgment. And I just want to listen to you. And, again, I thank you. And at least before we go, can you kind of just give us some quick contact info, how people can reach you?
People can contact me. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you to go to my DMs, because that's a long
No. Cut.
Cut it out. Look.
Cut it out.
I can't. No. Best way to reach me, if it's regards to like NOLA SBF stuff, is nolasbf@gmail.com. I do have work for like Rubia Garcia in my activist work and things like that. So they can go to rubiagarcia.com or email rubia@rubiagarcia.com. I have Instagram for Nola Rubia Garcia, NOLARUBIAGARCIA. And that's the same thing for Twitter. Excuse me. That's that crown apple finally creeping up.
Hey.
So, and obviously people have me on Facebook for Rubia Garcia, or the fan page Rubia Garcia too. But nonetheless, man, it's been a great time. I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to talk and let everything be out there on the air. I'm curious to know the response. What you think it's gonna be? Not that I truly give a fuck, because the fucks that I did give fucked me over, so I just leave them alone. But like, I'm curious. You know what I mean?
I mean, everybody's curious, but you know what? I could say, to be honest, these responses that I'm getting now overall have been just extremely positive. Like,
I can't see nothing. I'm not even lying.
Just wait.
I haven't seen nothing this entire.
Just wait until you end this discussion, and you just go. We got over 100 comments. That's for a fact. So it's like it's going down. We even got even like.
Let's go.
So
I love Guy, bro. I'll tell you this. Anybody, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I'll be like, yo, I don't care. Guy Lovell will always be at my festivals or congresses, any events that I ever do. I haven't met somebody so professional. He's positive. He's just, I like him. I want to hug him. He's like a teddy bear, him and his wife, because I don't want those problems. So, so I'm like, he's just super professional and organized. Like, where do they make can we clone them?
I know.
Guy is super dope.
Yeah, man. And that's what I'm saying is that, trust me, I know that when you get to see all of these comments, it's going to bring an even better and larger smile to your face. So, for me, I like to every one of my guests know, this is our first discussion, but it will surely not be our last because I definitely later this year, definitely later this year, I want to have another discussion with you and see the progress from the Hard Rock 3 initiative's been going because I think
Let's
it's
just hope
very
I don't get arrested again. Jesus, Lord, if
well.
if they really put me in jail behind those two fellas, because I didn't get to that, but they arrested me here on May 5th on Cinco de Mayo of all days. Cinco de Mayo. I showed up here and I wouldn't leave. I showed up at the Hard Rock and I wouldn't leave until Mayor Cantrell and Fire Chief Tim McConnell came.
Oh my Lord!
And they said, "Bitch, back."
But you know what you did in reality.
And they arrested my dumb ass.
But you know you ain't dumb. You know what you did? You caused some good trouble.
Yeah, you're right. I found a way to get into the way. And
yes, but
fun.
I thank you so much again for this great discussion, this great therapy session. And I definitely just want you and your family to stay safe in justice, to stay safe out there with this COVID, and keep up the good fight. And I'll support anything you do. And send me some info on the Hard Rock, and I'll definitely share it and post it as well.
Don't support anything I do. Make sure you don't support the shit that I fuck up on.
I will keep that in my mind. I promise.
You know what I mean? Be like, yo, Rubia on the slick, like Liz. I think you.
But you know is that if you do some shit you ain't doing, I'm gonna just hit
That's
you
how
up.
I be like, yo. So what the fuck happened with last Thursday?
So we done fucked up, right?
So listen, I think we need to debate. But I think honestly, and leaving it at that, I think that a lot of it comes down to people wanting to address things, but not necessarily knowing how to navigate the lanes.
Yeah.
But then it just comes down to how do you check somebody who's personally close to you that you friends with, but is doing some awkward stuff. This is where you leave it with. Your enemies ain't gonna give you those second choices. They're not gonna sit here and say how you want to hear it. You want it nice? You want it ugly? They just gonna give it to you. So your friends, and the best responsibility that your friends could have is whenever you fuck up, tell me that I fucked up. I might not know I fucked up. I might not agree with that you think I fucked up, but tell me where you stand.
Yeah.
Tell me, because I might be completely unaware of it, but tell me because you my people, you my friend.
Yeah.
I hope that you would tell me because again, my enemies are going to tell me, and when they fucking tell me, it's gonna be too late. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be in a position to rectify or remedy a situation. So the part of your responsibility as being a true friend, part of being a true friend means that you're willing to tell them the truth and hurt them with the truth rather than to comfort them with lies.
Oh, yeah, you just preaching, and I'm about to go to bed tonight.
I know that's right. Look, I'm about to go to bed too. Look,
man, but I thank you again so much, Lindsay, and we're definitely going to talk soon. I'll definitely message you throughout the week just to check up on you as a friend, and I hope everything goes well for you. Keep up the good fight, and definitely until next time.
Until next time, I'll holler at you later.
All right. I'll talk to everybody later. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in to the live discussions with Diamond featuring Rubia Garcia. And please, people, be on the lookout. This woman is going places, I promise you.
Lord.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Night.